Welcome, everybody, to day 2 of week number 6 of Blue Otter Premier League. In our first series tonight, we're going to have Team Omega against Team Solo Invade. And we'll be following that up later today against Conduit Esports and High Alert. But I'm going to focus in on this series here. This is our number 1 seed and our number 2 seed. Team Solo Invade still undefeated on the season. And Omega hasn't lost a single game since their week 2 loss. It's going to be a great series. I'm Chung Somo, and today I'm not joined by Forrest again, but I have When It Rains with me. When It Rains, how are we doing today?
Hello, how's it going, everyone? I'm doing great. Those that recognize me, I usually cast for the Draft League, but now I'm up here in Premiere to fill in for Ferris, who could unfortunately not be with us. But I don't know, looking at these teams should be fun. I recognize a couple players on from the league itself, so I think this is definitely going to be a fun one looking at the matchups today.
Yeah, I mean, this first series, if people have been reading the Blue Otter content that I've been putting out for the Premier League, I personally, even though Omega has lost the series, I have them ranked over Team Solo Invade in my power rankings. I think they are better, but I sadly haven't gotten to cast Team Solo Invade yet this season. This is going to be my first time casting them. But they do have some great players. Their AD carry, just RJ, has been on an absolute tear. I think he dropped like 30-plus kills last week in his 2 games. He's been probably the best AD carry in BOL Premier League. That doesn't mean Madge has been a slack over on the side of Omega. And I mean, everybody on each side has been doing great, but we're going to start getting in here into the game number 1 draft. We got Omega on the blue side, Team Solo Invade on the red side. I'm really curious to see what these teams try to pinpoint, just because Omega, their players have like such specific champions they're really good at. Like Saren is a really great casted player and likes to play Aurelion Soul and champs like this. Well, like just RJ, he can basically play like any 80 carry. I feel like it's going to be such an interesting draft that we're going to be seeing here in this first series and first game today.
Yeah, and I was like looking through like a lot of the drafts, the pick band stuff. You know, I'm seeing a lot of stuff similar to the Sapphire Division of Draft League. You know, these players being of sort of similar rank generally. You tend to see a lot of the similar picks that they pull out, right? The Jinx being the most pick carry currently in Premiere. Misfortune being very highly banned. So the things like the Jinx, the Misfortune, the Varus, the generally popular ADCs like Ashe, right? All of those tend to be up higher. You have a lot of those classic bruiser top laners like the Mordekaiser, like the Cassante, you know, more of a tank, but those sort of very high pick rate characters are still very present. The Xin Zhao as well, very picked. So far already I'm seeing in bans things that are sort of expected just looking at the charts. But you know, I can't really speak on the individual player picks as much.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Caxi, the jungle for Omega, is going to be really upset about that Darius ban. I know he's been playing it a lot in solo queue and has been wanting to play it over here in Premier League, but no team's going to let him have that chance. And the Maokai ban is actually really good on the side of Omega. That's what Unleashed has been playing a lot in the jungle for Team Solo Invade. Really good at enabling the team to what they want to do. But I also do like the Seraphine pick. We've seen both Madge and Saren pull this one out. I wouldn't be shocked if Nubly can also play it. And that's really a matchup I'm actually looking at is Nubly and X-Hax, the supports of each team, just because of how well that not only do they play for their carries in lane, but how they get on the map and affect the game with their jungler. I really do think that the support matchup is actually a big deal. I know a lot of people don't think support matchups matter, but like, these guys can make or break this game depending on what their roam timers look like and how the lane is affected by their pressure that they can provide. So I really do think trying to get a strong 2v2 for each of these teams is going to be important, but we're going to be getting a Sivir and Nocturne, not normally the 1-2 combo pairing that you see. You normally see that Orianna paired up with the Nocturne, but Sivir is a really great, you know, scaling champion. Everybody knows of the old days, 500 Sivir, you know, 500 CS Sivir, win con. You just sit there and you clear the way forever.
GG.
Yeah. I mean, if people remember back to season 1 when we had old summoner spells, the one that was basically Banner of Command, and you would just play split push Sivir top lane.
Oh my god! What was it? 5 rallies all top.
Yep.
Oh my god!
Those are
the scary days.
Yeah.
But yeah, what this says to me, like already seeing the Sivir and the Nocturne usually, if you're pairing it up with a carry on these R1, R2 picks, you're going with the Ashe, right? Something that can sort of facilitate that with the arrow. So knowing that, going that Sivir who, you know, is maybe going to wait till on the hunt, isn't going to be able to apply as much pressure early, you're thinking, okay, they're probably going to want to play for early topside ganks, so Omega just going to pick up the Renekton and the Viego to be able to take those early fights. However, in doing so, drafting that double AD topside does leave room open to just easily snap up that R3 Malphite and start to maybe ban away these carries that you don't have to worry about, those mid laners. It looks like we're assuming Seraphine is going bot or support here and not mid lane, and I don't blame them, so we're just pinching that mid pool. But I wouldn't be surprised to see something like the Jinx taken away here, maybe. One of those picks that can sort of just deal with Sivir and is totally fine saying, okay, we're just going to handshake farm and do nothing for 20 minutes and get to 3 items. And if you're thinking of a carry that doesn't really want to aggress on Sivir, Jinx is sort of that perfect pick, that carry that just gets a couple items online and then can tear through teams. So I think there's a lot of picks that you're completely happy just dittoing into the Sivir, and I'm kind of surprised to not see Team Solo Invade ban any of them.
Yeah, I mean, I really do like this Malphite pick. I mean, I'm a Malphite lover. When I get off-rolled in top lane, I pick it. In a comp series, I played it recently and got 2 solo kills. This champion is just so much fun to play, I think, personally. But I do like the Sylas ban just because Sylas is a universal counter to Malphite. It doesn't matter what lane Sylas is in. If there's a Malphite in the game and you pick Sylas, I think he has like a 65% win rate. He like wins every time he's against a Malphite just because of how powerful stealing that ultimate away is. So even if the Seraphine was originally going to go mid, banning the Sylas is good because it doesn't let them have that pivot option. But I also really do like this Renekton pickup out of Perspicacious up in the top lane. He's a really strong weak side player, but also can play that carry style on these champions. Even in Renekton, I've seen him play weak side and get 1v2 outplays. I do think he's a very strong top laner. I'm really curious to see how he does against SK509. It's definitely, I think all these matchups are really crucial, but like you said, I do think that Jinx pick is a good shout out. I do think Omega would try to like to go for that. It works very well with the Viego, both of them looking for resets in these team fights to just snowball in them, and having that Seraphine to keep them alive is very helpful, especially if it is in the mid lane to get that bonus gold to build a little bit more AP to have larger heals on your W. So you still could get a strong engage support here, like the likes of a Nautilus or a Leona or a Rel out of Nubly in the bot lane to have that go option on the side that I think Omega is kind of looking for right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely possible, right? And like, think about this, right? They do have that Viego, so they might not want the resets, right? Jinx is definitely, good into the sort of Sivir Nocturne as a vacuum, but seeing that Malphite, knowing that they might be going for a bit more, you could definitely see that Seraphine bot lane, right? Something as a mage, a bit more facilitating. You could also see maybe a bit more of a hybrid pick if they want to maybe go for a bit more of that upfront damage, that upfront potential. You have something like the Ashe, but that's still, counters. I think the Varus is also something that teams have been picking up a lot more recently because it sort of has that sort of similar engage ult to Ashe, right? You have that big ultimate arrow that provides a lot of CC, but you also have the chance at lethality or this sort of on-hit mixed damage that isn't playing into a lot of armor. And now that we see the Braum, we can sort of see, that's a lot of disengage covered. What Team Solo Invade lack right now is range, right? They have a lot of engage. They can really go for it with that Malphite ultimate. They can kite back with the Sivir, but they're not going to win a poke battle. So I wouldn't be surprised to see something like the Hui Seraphine, like going like Hui in the mid lane, maybe picking up that Seraphine for bot lane, and going for more of that mixed support, something like the Nautilus that can play the engage or back things up. But we're going with the Sona instead, and that is definitely an option. The biggest issue you're going to have now is the Malphite and Nocturne engage. However, into Braum and Sivir, being able to just perma-scale your Sona with the bot lane pairing, whoever it might be, whether it be the Seraphine, whether it be that carry, if that Malphite engage isn't insane in the late game, you're kind of just going to win by virtue of attrition. There's not going to be a lot the enemy team can do. And the Aurelion Soul, if we lock this in, it does look like we're just playing for 45 minutes here. And that's exactly what's happening. We do not care about interacting. We saw the Sivir, we're like, all right, you know what? We're just going to sit and farm for 20 minutes while Viego and Renekton do their thing.
I don't want to cast Seraphine Sona. I'm going to be so honest. This bot lane is so boring. But
this is a Seraphine Sona Aurelion Soul game.
This is
Chuck,
Oh
did
my
you think
god.
did you think we were getting off early today? Did you think we were getting out before
No,
12 midnight? Come on.
because I'm used to Omega from week one. Our producer Shivam is used to it when they had 2 50-minute games of 4v5s, and then a game 3 that was 30 minutes. We sat here for like 3 hours in that first series in week number 1. It
Oh
was
my
a night,
lord.
but I do like the Seraphine Sona lane on the looking at what Team Solo Invade wants to do, because Nocturne and Malphite want to dive in to the back line, and they're gonna not have a fun time diving into Seraphine Sona, just because it's gonna be so hard. If you're not so far ahead on this Nocturne, and same with like also this Vigar and Sivir, when you're going for these early game team fights, you're not gonna do like any damage to the side of Omega. They have a really good bridge comp, just because Renekton is super strong early and falls off late. That's where the Aurelion Soul comes online. That's where the Seraphine Sona are really strong. And then in mid game you have Viego also with that Seraphine Sona. So like Omega has drafted a really well rounded comp for themselves, maybe lacking just a little bit on that engage front, but I've seen them pull off comps like this. I think their coach Lesser is a really smart drafter with this team, just because of the champ pools that these players have. They always find a way to get exactly what they want in drafts and in games for their exact play style. I do think they are one of our stronger macro teams here we have in the Blue Water Premier League. I also think Team Solo Invade is also a really strong team. We have NBK on their Vigar. I mean, he's a solid mid laner. He's probably top 2, top 3 in this league, and Vigar is a champ that he's been pulling out a lot and performing well on it. So with him and just RJ on these scaling champions to also respond to the scaling that Omega has, it's going to be who can win out in the later game. Is it going to be this Madge and Sarah and Seraphine, Aurelion Solar? Is it going to be NBK and just RJ on the Sivir Vigar? I think these team comps, they're going to be very light on interaction early, unless we're looking top lane with Perspicacious and Caxi looking for plays there. But I don't think anything's going to be happening mid lane. Nothing's going to be happening bot lane. It's all going to be around these grubs, neutral attractors, and the top side of the map this game, number 1.
Yeah, I think you're sort of spot on, right? Is we have the Vigar, Aurelion Soul. They just don't want to touch each other. Sivir, Braum, Sona, Seraphine, they don't want to touch each other. And then you got the Malphite, Renekton, who are sort of going to be in this very short trade battle, and junglers who want to consistently gank them. I think we're going to see a lot of fights around those grubs, around the Herald, around just the top side in general, while everyone else sort of puts on the Spotify / mute all, and they're just going to chill until Kingdom Come, until teams are finally ready. They're on their 27 item spikes, and they're finally willing to interact. But until then, I think it's definitely just going to be who can get that early sort of topside advantage. But I think a lot of it's going to come down to that early jungle advantage, being able to accelerate ahead, being able to get those invades off right through lane prio, being able to do that for the early objective pressure. Given that both these teams scale so well, I think a lot of it's going to come down to how these junglers play the first, I'm going to say 7 to 11 minutes of the game, right? The first sort of 1 to 2 dragon spawns, the first 1 to 2 grub spawns, I think is going to be where a lot of the action happens.
Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely going to be a well-fought battle. I hope everybody's got their drinks, they got their popcorn, so they're locked in for this long game number 1. And the only way to find out who's going to go 1-0 up on the series is when we come back from this short break, once Incline Draft is done. Stick around, and we'll see you all on the other side. And welcome back for game number 1 versus Omega Gaming and Team Solo Invade. We got Team Omega on the blue side, TSI on the red side. And like we said, we're going to be in for a long one. We got an Aurelion Soul and Seraphine Sona bot lane for the side of Omega. And then to match the scaling for Team Solo Invade, Vigar and this Sivir. And Vigar going with the first strike, looking to farm up a little bit of that extra gold with his poke in this game. So definitely something to be looking for, how much value he actually gets on that first strike in this lane versus an Aurelion Soul.
I feel like this is going to be one of those games where we're going to be calling for stack checks a lot. Just like, how much is Ace at? How much is the Vigar at? How far are we on this game? Like, at what point do people just start dying, right? At what point do we just click a button and someone's dead because of how late it's gotten?
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing, like, both these players obviously have scaling, right? Obviously, these teams both have scaling. One of the things that I think needs to be paid attention to is just how fast Sona can hit those 120 stacks on the passive to sort of cap herself out. Because that's going to help in those team fights a lot. Those sort of mid-game fights when everyone has 2 items, right? Maybe the full scaling of the crazy 500 CS, the 400 items, hasn't come on live just yet. But you're at a state where teams are both relatively strong. Things are a bit more deadly. People really start to do damage. Those are going to be the fights where I think teams are really going to start taking those leads and start deciding the pace of the game, right? But I don't think you're ever really going to be able to count a team out if they can hang on.
Yeah, I agree, and we saw some good poke here out of the bot lane for TSI onto Nubly. I mean, Sivir does do a lot of damage in the early lane that people don't expect. That Boomerang Blade actually does a lot of work. If you get it on the double pass-through like that, we've seen twice now. But, I mean, like you said, it depends. We're going to be here for a while until people just start dying. I mean, it's going to be tough for either side to actually get what they want in these team fights. I mean, just RJ is probably going to be the focus of attack here for Omega Gaming, but he did take the cleanse on the Sivir. I understand it looking at what Omega has drafted, but I feel like also if you're positioning well, this could have been a game where he did actually take TP, because I don't think a lot of fighting is going to be happening in the bottom lane. But it makes sense. There's so much CC on the side of Omega. Literally everybody has a stun built into their kit somehow or some form of CC. So it makes sense to go that with how long of a cooldown that the spell shield is. But I mean, both teams are just going to be looking to get this farm going, stacking up as much as possible in these first couple minutes, and probably until about like 15-20 minutes, I think, until we actually see a lot of team fighting. I don't think a lot of action is going to be happening in this early game. But looking at it, we got a slight CS lead already happening up here in the top lane. Perspicacious doing a good work up here against SK, but Nobly taking a good amount of poke here. It looks like both bot lanes doing a good job of keeping everybody poked down, but I mean, the side of Omega is doing it better because all of it has been onto Nubly. None of it has been onto Madra. Both laners on the side of TSI have been taking some of this poke from the bot lane that they're going up against here.
Yeah, and making sure you get that poke down, making sure that you sort of have that opportunity for ganks really just keeps people on their toes. It keeps people from getting too complacent. And if they know that they've taken damage, that there's a possibility of a gank, that in turn buys you safety, right? Because they tend to not be as aggressive. You don't have to worry as much of them pushing you in. However, both of these Omega playing to back for the mana, they've gotten quite low on those pools. That's going to be one of those things very early on that's going to be hard for them to struggle with, right? They both need their tiers, but once those come online, it's going to be significantly easier to stay in lane for longer periods of time. And I wanted to point out, right, going into the mid game, you just look at the teams and you think, oh, obviously, TSI has this significantly higher front line, right? So it's going to be hard for Omega to cut through. But there's one thing that I think people don't realize is that, like, the front line from Omega is actually pretty beefy, all things considered. Renekton is one of those characters that's sort of a tank that builds bruiser items in the way that Cassante is sort of a bruiser that builds tank items, right? He's a lot stronger, can survive for a lot more than people tend to expect when you just look at the builds. Same with the Viego, who's getting those resets. And then you put in those Seraphine and Sona shields and healing, and you realize that they are a lot more resilient to poke, to consistent damage than you would initially think, right? So I think TSI is going to be careful not to underestimate them going into that mid game, or they might end up, blowing all of their damage really early on and realizing that they've only cut through, a health bar halfway, and now they're just going to lose the war of attrition.
Yeah, I mean, Perspicacious is going to have to be careful up here in the top lane because if SK does hit level 6, he can actually solo kill the Renekton with this HP pool that he has. I mean, I said before, I play a lot of Malphite top. Like, you got to know the threshold when he can burst down these harder matchups. And if they're below about half HP, that's the window once you hit level 6. You get in there with that unstoppable force. You hit him with the ground pound. You hit him with the slaps, and you hit him with the Q, and that's basically a full health, like a quarter of a health bar, half a health bar at this point in the game. So if he's looking for that, it's going to be at this point. If Perspicacious doesn't dive him here, he can with that level 6, but
Yeah.
looking not to go for it here.
No, and being 1 minion off, probably the smarter idea, right? If you were miscounting, you would have realized like, I can get the nope. SK just immediately hits the 6, and now you're dead. So has to be careful, definitely. And the first dragon going over to TSI, I'm not too surprised about. The Sona Seraphine just not going to be able to apply as much pressure and going to sort of have to force themselves back to buy all these tiers. You already see 3 tiers this game coming from Omega. So you know that you're probably going to concede that first drag, maybe the second one. But in return, Omega being smart about it, knowing that they have that Renekton pressure and going for the grubs like we expected. Everything's sort of going according to script right now. No team really deviating too far just yet.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's doing exactly what they have to do in this early game. I mean, we saw Saren with a little bit of fancy feet in the mid lane a couple minutes ago when NBK put down the baby cage and was trying to hit all the abilities onto him. Saren dodged out on all of them, did a good job not giving Vigar some early stacks for free there, but SK gonna have to take another recall here, but he does not have TP, so Unleash goes up there, picks up that farm. He's gonna help his top laner out, but I mean, shout out to SK. This is a hard early game matchup to be playing in this lane, and he's going to go down a lot of CS here, but it's more about the impact you have in a team fight as the Malphite, and, you know, just knowing when that you can actually push out these lanes and not be worried about a kill threat from this Renekton. He went for the early Greaves. He got that Bramble Vest. Going to be really good in that 1v1. I would like to see him, you know, build towards that either Sunfire Cape or Unending Despair, either one that is your preference to go to, depending on who you're answering in the side lanes. I think it's a really helpful item for Malphite with this wave clear, so you're not wasting all your mana on this wave. But like you said, we got triple tier on the side of Omega. Everybody's crying a little bit, but it's going to be so helpful for this team. I mean, as a support player, I do like building tier onto Sona, but I never fully complete it. I like getting it to 360 stacks, but I normally don't upgrade it to an item. Oh, man. See, this is the window I'm talking about, where if SK plays it right, he can burst Perspicacious, but never mind.
Oh, but Perspicacious goes in first. Oh, and it's just about who gets the jump. And SK just wasn't ready for it. Perspicacious, knowing that he had that opening there, going for the solo kill. And you could see both players, they were sort of just like walking back and forth. They were just trying to jiggle around a little bit, sort of daring the other to go first. But SK just not quick enough on the reaction time. And gets bursted down. Perspicacious picking up first blood there. And already 1,000 gold lead for Omega with this comp. You're very happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, Perspicacious has to do everything now.
Oh, MBK, not like this. Oh, but he makes it out. Saren manages to flash right after Unleash. NBK just a little bit too early with that Primordial Burst and isn't quite able to land the kill. Saren makes it out alive. And that's one of the big things that I think people don't realize about, except we now have another engage now, Nobly going in. Now the charm coming out, but it's only going to hit X-Hax, dashing back onto RJ. And they're both just going to walk it out. There shouldn't be too much damage here unless he gets tagged up by that E, and it's going to be the double Q from Madge to take out another kill in the bot side. Now just RJ forced to run away. Not using that on the hunt. Probably thought X-Hax was out and home free, but X-Hax... I think X-Hax thought he was out and home free because he didn't use that flash, didn't use that exhaust. Probably didn't expect the damage, but the Seraphine Q does more damage based on missing health, and that execute hurts a lot when you're not expecting it.
Yeah, I mean, Madge and Nubly played that out so well. Like, Nubly got targeted down by RJ Just Hacks before Madge got there, and the way they used the crescendo into the encore was beautiful. Because X-Hacks got the wall up, the crescendo only hit onto him, so Madge got to free hit him, and then once it was down, the encore came out, hit only onto X-Hacks, and that spelled his death there. I mean, he's going for these early Merc treads, makes a lot of sense in this lane. I do think the exhaust onto Madge would have helped him, but he's not taking exhaust for this lane. It's for the later game team fights when Caxi and Perspicacious get onto the backline and just exhaust them, and they can't really do much while that's up. And like that's why you take it. but you saw the issue there where it doesn't really apply a lot of pressure in this lane. And if you do get caught out and they are able to rotate their spells correctly and get all the abilities hitting onto you, it's going to be really hard to survive there. I mean, maybe if RJ did pop that on the Hind, he would have saved his support there, but now Omega Gaming, they are 1 kill away from this Feats of Warfare and looking really strong in this early game, thanks to not only Perspication in the top lane, but the way their bot lane has been playing so far.
Yeah, however, a lot of ultimates down for Omega with drag up in 5 seconds means that it should be pretty reliable for TSI to just grab the second dragon. It looks like Omega is just going to do the same thing, right? Trade the 6 scrubs for the 2 dragons. Very common thing to do. Not too surprised. NBK might see if he can pick this one up, but Caxi still has the smite, so there shouldn't be too much to worry about, and all the spells go wide. So it's just going to be the classic 6 scrubs, 4-2 drag trade. 1.5k Omega's still up, but all things considered, not anything to worry about right now. The big thing is looking at that dragon in 5 minutes, right? For TSI, that is sole point. For Omega, that's to stop the drag stacking. That's going to be, you know, about those 1-item spikes, so that's going to be when teams are willing to team fight. So it's really going to be about positioning going into that, right? The next 5 minutes are going to be a lot of trying to make something happen, waiting for that drag up. And now Caxi having to flash out, unleash, missing the Q, but is still going to take it and spell shields the Comet, making sure that Saren can't pick anything up in return. Caxi overstaying his welcome just a little bit after those grubs and going down for his hubris.
Yeah, and I mean, that was just a good job by Unleashed, knowing that he had the burst at this point onto the Viego. You know, both of them did burn Flash in the end there, did both burn the ultimate, but Unleashed was able to get the upper hand onto Caxi, probably saved his ultimate. Oh, and MBK with the solo kill in the mid lane. What happened there?
Looks like Saren wasn't respecting the Flash cage from NBK, who just hit that clean engage, and Saren, without a flash of his own, not going to be able to get out there. The Primordial Burst was enough to finish him off. NBK picking up another kill, so solo kill for NBK, solo kill for Unleashed. Lots of solo kills happening around the map right now. I mean, and something I was talking about, you know, earlier is, you know, Unleashed. Something you really need on that Nocturne is to get that first ult, and unfortunately, Unleashed not able to get it, didn't work out. However, being able to shortly after get that second ult up, get the Hex Plate online now to make sure you get that extra ultimate haste. That's going to be a big deal, right? For the Ultimate Hunter, getting all of those cooldowns, getting that early lead. If that second ult failed, that's really dangerous territory for TSI to be in because of how far you are behind on this Nocturne. However, because they got it off, because they were able to make all this work and get the solo kill onto Saren for NBK, things are looking a lot better, right? That 1.5k gold lead, now down only to about 1,000. Things still pretty good, right? Perspicarius up in the top side, massive, you know, 42 CS lead on the kill, but that's most of the gold lead. The rest of the game, the rest of the map is pretty even, all things considered.
Yeah, and I mean, I do want to say, I do like how Omega decided to go for the 6 scrubs here because they have this Renekton. Nobody's really going to be able to answer him in a side lane, so that's going to give him such a split push threat come the later stages of this game. But then also, NBK did get that solo kill in that mid lane. We see that he does have a lead. He's got the gold bounty on his head, but the last time Saren played this Asol was last week and to an Akali matchup, and I think at one point in the game he was like 0-4. And he ended that game 8-6 and helped get his team a win with some crucial ultimates out of the Star Dragon. So, I mean, I'm not too worried about Saren going down early in this game, but oh no, he's gonna go down again. Oh,
not again, not again. Saren flashes out though to safety and manages to hit Unleash with the Comet. Unfortunately, Caxi isn't quite able to follow up, and a spell shield from Unleash keeps him safe from that Hearts Piercer. And BK can see him looking for more, and Saren just wants the wave with the E. No dragon, no objectives up, though, means that there's not really going to be anything they could do, and Perspicarius has to be careful. Went up, took a tower shot, forced to use that ultimate, enters the Dominus for SK, trying to engage there. There's just going to be an ult-for-ult trade, but the top laner is going to be able to live. Big thing here, that tower is very low, and getting that first tower puts people on a much better situation, whatever team manages to get it. And if Omega's able to get it, right, they don't have Defeat of Warfare yet, but they do have the double objectives. Both teams on 2 objectives, 2 kills. So there's a very high chance that first tower is what ends up determining the feats, right? So having all of those grubs, being able to put all that pressure topside is very meaningful for both of these teams. Perspicarius has to be careful, though. Okay, manages to dash out of the fear, and SK without any ult shouldn't really be that much of a threat. Perspicarius should be able to walk his way out here. But Caxie's up, unfortunately, and engaged in the bot side. Nubly manages to get the crescendo onto 2 immediately into the encore. And X-Hax trying to run it down, but RJ's not quite able to follow up. They don't want to use the on the hunt. They don't want to try and chase this down, knowing just how much sustain they have. Nice dodge there from X-Hax. Means that TSI is kept safe. Good engage, I think, all things considered. The 1 ult for 2 ult trade. And the flash and heal from Nubly, especially 30 seconds to this dragon. You're very happy with that. Unleashed also has the ult, which means if they can keep them in lane just a little bit longer, they might be able to push. Imagine Nubly don't know. They're getting aggressive here. They're not ready for it. Engage from X-Hax, popping the on the hunt. Now Unleashed finally goes in, using the Nightmare. Unfortunately, Nubly is all left alone, trying to run in the alcove, but it's only a matter of time before the stun lands, and RJ picks up that kill. Only a matter of time. You know, Nubly using the heals, trying to buy it, but they are going to give just RJ the kill over to their carry, and the Feat of Warfare gets claimed for TSI, and with the Dragon up, if they are not able to rush down that Herald as soon as possible, it will be a confirmed feats for TSI, which means Caxi has to be fast. And Persicarius should have walked down. I don't know if he's going to be able to get that Herald in time. We'll have to see. They're going to be neck and neck. This Dragon, 4k, 3k. The Herald taken low. I don't know how much it's at right now, but the smite comes through. And it's going to be feats picked up for TSI. Caxi, unfortunately, not able to claim it in time. I think Saren and Perspicarius should have rotated for that one to try and help that earlier. I don't think they were really quite accounting for just how close the feats were.
I mean, I've seen Omega be willing to give over the feats of warfare when they're on these more scaling comps and know that it's like, hey, you know, we used all our ultimates, we shouldn't be fighting at this. We should just look for pressure on these turrets. Now this mid lane turret is gonna die to a Herald drop as well as the top lane one if Perspicacious does not just get it by himself. But, I mean, I do like the play that Team Solo Invade did. Like you said, they got everything off Nubly, and we saw Unleashed sprinting down there, and they went for the play with the On the Hunt and the TP also out of NBK. They were able to get just RJ, his first kill of the game. He's on this Yuntal. He's down about 11 CS right now, but I definitely think it's interesting that he went for the Yuntal as his first item. Normally, I see a lot of Sivers go for the Essence Reaver, so you just have that infinite wave clear, and you're never running out of mana. So I'm really curious to see how just RJ is going to be controlling his mana pool in this early game. But I mean, now, the bigger thing is that Team Solo Invade at 17.5 minutes is on Cloud Soul Point, which is so good for their team comp. Everybody wanting those shorter ultimate cooldowns, especially the likes of Malphite and Nocturne, and even the Vigar. If they get that, that's going to be so big for their game and their team. But the scarier part is now Omega can get 4 of them if they're able to win these team fights. And just the same as Team Solo Invade, they also want Cloud Dragon Soul. But if they stack 4 Cloud Dragons, the movement speed and the ultimate cooldown that they're going to have on this team comp is going to be insane. So, I mean, Dragons, we're going to be fighting over every single one for the rest of this game because Omega is not going to want to give that soul over, and either is TSI. They're going to want to pick that one up for themselves. But now we're in the interesting part of this top lane where Perspicacious, unless he kills SK, that wave is like never going to get to the turret because SK is on the Sunfire Cape, and just because of the power of the Malphite W, it gives you that bonus wave clear. So, I mean, it's going to be hard for Perspicacious to get this first turret, and same for Saren in this mid lane because NBK does have such good straight line wave clear on the Vigar. And never mind, he's just going to kill Saren again.
Yeah, all of this happening, you know, we're looking around, they were potentially going for something. However, we do have an engage on the top side after that. Perspicacious going to be able to get his way out with that flash and the Dominus. But another solo kill from NBK in the mid lane, able to pick up Saren, who just getting a little bit too aggressive. Perspicacious, though, realized Unleashed under tower, manages to get a lot of damage down. Unfortunately, not quite being able to finish off Unleashed, who manages to flash out right before taking that last tower shot. Looks a little bit good for a while, though. Perspicacious, you know, very strong, and I think Unleashed was not respecting their Renekton damage, not realizing just how much burst this Renekton has at these early levels with the advantage that he currently picked up. We do also see SK picking up that Sunfire, like you were talking about, as well as the Bramble Vest, so just sort of stacking some early armor into this Renekton to be able to match this, to be able to survive those potential engages and fights that you need to be able to survive before you can really build into that MR and itemize for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, I did think Perspicacious was going to get that kill on Leash under turret. Maybe if he had a little bit more CDR, he would have gotten that second Cold Meek out and pick up that kill pick up a shutdown for himself. But I think the big thing is right now is that, yes, Team Solo Invade does have this early game advantage. They're down gold right now. all things considered, just because of the top lane discrepancy between Perspicacious and SK on this farm and all the turret plates that Perspicacious has picked up for himself. But I mean, despite that, they're up in kills right now. They're on that Cloud Soul point. I think the big thing is if they're not able to snowball this lead that they have, it's going to start becoming very hard in this later game. Now that you have Madge on 2 items, you have Nubly on the Heliod, and he's starting to build up those more supportive items. I'm expecting to see a Moonstone come out of them soon. I definitely think the Bloodsong is an interesting choice to go for. Normally you see the Dreammaker on the Sona support just because it provides so much more healing and shielding for your team. But I would like to see him pull out the Moonstone, and then, you know, they have that survivability to sustain through the burst that is there for Team Solo Invade between the top side of the map's ultimate combo. So if they don't snowball this lead and they don't take advantage of everything that they built up for themselves, it can become a very hard game to play out in the late game. But they've been doing a good job so far in the game. I just want to see them continue this momentum and push it forward. But just RJ, okay, so Caxie's gonna fall off of this play. I saw he was hovering in that bush. I wasn't sure if they're gonna look for a dive onto just RJ, but deciding against it, he's gonna channel the recall, which is gonna put the turret under pressure with this Herald now. It's gonna be first turret that's gonna go over here to the side of Omega, I would have to assume. Oh, they're just using it for dragon pressure. Oh no.
Oh, but the engage, Madge didn't back up soon enough. Now the Encore trying to follow up, but Madge is dead to rights. Same way for Caxie. Nice TP there from SK to get the collapse off, but I don't even know if they needed it. It was a nice attempt. You had the crescendo into Encore combo, but Madge just overstayed his welcome a little bit. Unleashed was able to come in, SK and NBK on the flank, and then just pinch them a little bit too high. We have a 22-minute soul coming in for TSI, completely negating the gold lead that Omega had. And you have this hyper skilling comp, I can't count him out, but this is a massive lead that TSI has right now, and the game feels like theirs to lose with just how strong they are. They have all of this combat potential. They have so much power onto the rest of the map. Meanwhile, Omega, their entire gold lead, their only way to really push this pressure is the 2-item Renekton that I don't know if they really have that strength that you would think they had early on, right? Unleashed already on the items. You already have SK there. NBK already 3-0. You already have the Infinity Edge finish for just RJ. You have all of these spikes now, the Rabadons for NBK, just buying it full off the rip. It feels very dangerous, especially with the Otacon up. And if TSI are able to maybe stall out this Otacon just a little bit longer, get it around for the Elder Dragon fight, it feels like Omega might just lose the game before they can even get started.
Yeah, I mean, that Dragonflight was super well played by TSI. They got the TP out early on top of the Nocturne Paranoia, turned out the lights, not letting a response TP come out. But Perspicacious didn't even have it. He was just up in the top lane by himself. But I mean, I was going to say, I like that NBK did go for this death cap because normally you see that out of Vygar, and then they just build tank. They build like Force of Nature and Deadman's, but he's looking to go full offensive. I think I would have liked the tankier build here because then how do you ever actually kill this Vygar? You have like no AD damage to shred through him. If he just builds a Force of Nature in a team fight, like Saren and Madge really do nothing to him, and it's all about Perspicacious and Caxie getting a burst on him. But he's going to keep himself vulnerable by going for more AP on top of what he already has because Vygar doesn't really need to build more. He has natural AP already, scaling forever on that passive. Oh no, Unleash is looking for a play again, and they caught Nubly.
Oh, and Nubly is just up way too far. Unfortunately, going past your tower line at this stage in the game, not to be advised. The Seraph Shield coming out from Madge, but it's only a matter of time before RJ is able to finish it off. Massive Comet comes through, but unfortunately the skies aren't descended. Saren's not going to be able to pick up X-Hacks. He's just going to be able to flash and get himself out to safety. 2 more kills picked up for TSI, who are just running this game like it's nothing. Perspicacious trying to land the 1v1 onto SK, but SK still has that ultimate, still has a lot of ways out. Perspicacious has lots of damage here, does still have the flash if SK is not able to use it, but you can see the movement speed, everything is just too strong, and Perspicacious not even being able to finish off SK in this fight anymore, it does not spell good omens for Omega, and especially not a good spelling when Caxie is getting killed in his own jungle now at this point. You can see Hax going for Perspicacious, does still have the flash, does have the Eve, he needs to get out, gonna finally use it after SK goes forward, but unfortunately it's just a little bit too late, already tagged up by the Braum passive, and it's gonna be SK picking up the shutdown, putting himself on the board, and that Otacon does look pretty juicy. They're not going for it quite yet. They want the tower, and I imagine with the Sivir coming up here, they're going to turn their eyes towards it after everyone's sort of reassembled. They want the maximum time. They want to be able to find a fight with those respawns right before Elder. NBK has to be careful, though, but it's actually Nublu has to be careful again. Unleashed already has that ultimate up, just so much CDR for that ultimate. The ability haste is just crazy. You have the ultimate hexplate, you have that ultimate hunter, you have the 5 kills, I think, now after everyone. So you're just really strong. Going for the Baron. The Otacon's up. Elder Dragon in 2 minutes. And honestly, at this point, I don't really know how Omega holds on to this game if they're not just sitting at their inhibitor towers farming waves. I think you just need to give everything to try it. But a big comet would certainly help. On to 4 in the Sky's Descent. Caxi going in, trying to find the resets. Unfortunately, the damage just isn't quite there. Perspicarius TP's in and uses the Dominus, but he's stuck in the middle of all 5. NBK catches him in the cage, and it's just a matter of time before the croc goes down. Saren looking for the black hole, trying to land what little he can, but it feels like stack farming at this point when your entire team is going for it and they can't survive.
I mean, it does pull TSI off the Baron, so it does delay the game a little bit longer here for the side of Omega. And Saren just has no damage at this point. Normally you see an Ace Ult ultimate like that, and you're like, oh, he just gets a 5-man ace here with his jungler helping. Maybe if Caxi used that Heartbreaker and got a little bit more burst damage, it would have been possible. But we've been seeing the issue with playing these in like range supports, these enchanters. Nubly has been caught out of position 3 times in this game, and they've been punishing him so well. It's the issue with like not having that tankiness on your side because you can just get bursted like that. And Nubly's going, it looks like he's building AP here. I really don't like that call out of him. I really, like I said, I would have liked the Moonstone. The healing that comes out across the team is so big. I don't like building this AP variant. I feel like it's not super helpful for what your team comp is trying to do. And I mean, the Baron is delayed. You know, TSI can look at it whenever they want again, but they're going to just look to push in these waves and control vision and look for picks in the jungle like they have been doing all game. Caxi's been caught out multiple times in his jungle. And TSI, I mean, their macro has been very strong this game. It feels like every time everybody on the team is on the same page together, always looking for the counterplay of what Omega's trying to do. And we see they're pinging onto the Baron, looking to control vision in that area because they know TSI is on the bottom side of the map. But I mean, TSI can turn this. Unleash has ultimate SKs here. They don't know it, and he has that unstoppable force, and the rest of the team is there to back him up.
Okay, Nubly's out. They don't quite turn. They're just going to keep the pressure up, keep the vision up, which I think is very smart to do. And at this point, you have all 3 objectives up. You have the Elder, the Baron, and the Otacon. It's 30 minutes in the game, and really all of these objectives currently feel like a TSI's to lose. And it's really just a matter of what they want to do. You can see they're turning their eyes. They want to go that Elder, but they want to bait in first. They don't want to start that. They don't want to take all that damage. They want to see what Omega does. They want to sort of force Omega to play reactively, to keep checking into them, to keep moving as a squad, checking into these bushes, and being able to see them go up towards that Baron. Now TSI has full knowledge of what they want to do. It looks like they're going to send Unleashed and RJ down to the Dragon to try and pick that up, and just let NBK, X-Hacks, and SK try and pick this up. And Saren already going down, the Comet stun onto 2, but they were able to stop that Baron just by the 3. And Unleashed and RJ are just melting this Elder Dragon while all this is happening.
That feels so bad for Saren. The Baron knockup is actually what killed him there, because then NBK was able to get the cage down right underneath him for when he lands, and then just able to burst him down. And I was going to say, I didn't like what Team Solo Invade was doing, how they were posturing around the Elder Dragon, because that feels like the actual way that Omega can get back into the game. If they get a teamfight win at the Elder Dragon and they pick it up and they get all these shutdowns, that's how they can get back into this game. It feels like Baron really wouldn't help them, so I didn't like how Omega was going for that Baron play. It was quickly shut down by just 3 members of TSI, showing how strong they are. But Caxi is going to try to be the hero here and look for the steal. The rest of his team, we can see them on the minimap trying to get in here.
Oh, it might be too early. We'll see. They're trying to burst it down. Goes in with the Heart Piercer a little bit more. Oh. Unfortunately, Caxi not able to land the smite. Now they're going to grab that Baron and the Otacon and the Elder. And at this point, once you pick up this, you have the Holy Trinity. You have the Withdrawal, you have the Baron, you have the Elder Dragon. At this point, if you're not just rushing down 5 mid to end the game, what are you doing? You have Soul, you have Elder, you have everything you could ever want at just 30 minutes into the game with an item up on everyone on the enemy team. It just feels like at this point, TSI can basically do whatever they want, so long as they don't just have all of their monitors disconnect right at the start of a fight.
Yeah, and I mean, they're gonna march down mid here with the recalls from every goal, every ounce of gold that they just picked up from the 3 major objectives, and they could just look to force to end if they walk SK over and he gets a big unstoppable force onto multiple members of Omega. It's really do or die here for Omega. They have to get the perfect team fight. They kind of got to start playing everything out perfectly for the rest of this game if they want a way to come back in this one, but it's going to be hard doing that into the Otacon revives, into the Elder Dragon, into the Baron buff, and we've seen that TSI, they know how to play this comp. They've been playing it perfectly so far. It's been almost a perfect, I would say about 25-ish minutes. I think the first couple minutes in the early game was a little rough for them. But after that, they've just been playing everything out exactly the way you want to with this comp. They've been like, yeah, they have like maybe one form of engage, but the picks that they've been getting are huge. Perspicacious losing half his HP from just one combo from MBK on this Vigar at this point, and it's looking like the bell is starting to ring. It
MBK!
looks like
Not quite. I think a little bit over aggressive, but a beautiful cage there, and SK goes in on Unleashed. Madge already going down, not going to be able to land the Encore. Unfortunately, Crescendo landed onto only one person. They're not able to stun it up. The tower's doing a lot of work, and it's going to be a withdrawal. Unfortunately, both Nexus towers already down. TSI keep fighting. They have the withdrawals, but they're all very low health bars. They're going to keep pushing for these inhibs. They're going to wait for the rest of the team to rejoin, and they are going to be forced back. Omega was able to stop that. If only for a little while, they were able to hang on, and that's the most important thing in this game. Being able to survive as long as humanly possible, being able to get that scaling in is really your only way out. However, with a 12k gold deficit at 32 minutes, it's looking rough. However, the Elder's worn off, the Baron wearing off suit. I say that Saren does what he's been doing all game. I think a little bit, just a little bit too disrespectful, not really understanding where he can be on this map and not die, because it feels like every time he walks up for a wave, he thinks, I'm safe, and then immediately gets punished for it.
Yeah.
No Elder means they don't have that execute, but with the Baron still up, this team is just still so strong.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is they don't have Otacon withdrawals, so if Omega can manage to win a team fight with no Nexus turrets, they can get so much gold.
Unleash the Encage onto SK.
Oh my god.
Unleashed isn't even going to have a chance to land before all the kills come through. Already a double picked up for NBK, and it's just a matter of time. Madge goes into stasis, but he's locked in the cage. Flashes out into base, but the ult's just going to follow him. It's going to be a triple kill for NBK. And you can see Perspicarius trying desperately to maybe hold on, but it's just going to be forced back into his fountain as the Nexus falls. And TSI pick up game 1 in commanding fashion.
Wow, that was a statement game here out of TSI, basically dominating from about the 7-minute mark onward in this game and really giving Omega no way to come back into this game. I mean, it feels so bad if you're on the scaling comp. Once you do start to fall behind, it feels like you never really have a way back into the game unless you're playing it perfectly. And that's not what Omega was doing here in this game number 1. I mean, look at the damage that NBK put out on this Vigar. Almost 33,000 damage. I mean, he's got to be the MVP for this game number 1. 11-0-4, basically making everything work for his team and really being that carry for Team Solo Invade in this first game.
Yeah, some great cages, some great play, really setting up for Unleashed to be able to do those Nocturne things, getting multiple solo kills, always being in those team fights, pressure in the side lanes. Really felt like a very strong pick on this Vigar, and statement game it was, because this is basically saying to Omega, it's like, okay, you go a scaling comp, this is what we're going to do to you. We're going to get Forge, we're going to get Soul at 22 minutes, we're going to get 3 objectives, we are going to decimate you from every angle, and that 40-minute game, those 300 stacks, it's going to look like a fantasy, it's going to look like a storybook, you're just not going to be able to get anything that you want. Unleashed also going the Serpent's Fang second, so, you know, TSI really showing that they know how to adapt to these game plans. You had just RJ going for the Wild Arrows into IE, knowing just how important a 2-item spike was going to be for these fights, right? So not going for, you know, the 3-4-item scaling, wanted that really early 2-item, really strong combo. You have the AD, the attack speed, the crit, you have everything you want. rolled up nicely into that sort of neat little package. Same thing for NBK, right? You want the Seraphs and the Rabadons. They were really playing for these early spikes, knowing that they didn't want to get outscaled, knowing that they wanted to play for the advantage, knowing that once they got into the driver's seat, it was their game to lose.
Yeah, and I mean, the bigger question now is how Omega is going to be able to bounce back from this one. This is their first loss since week number 1. They haven't dropped a game since then. They've been 5 weeks perfect until this point, but Team Solo Invade really going to look to shut the doors on them in this game number 2 and stay undefeated and establish themselves and prove to everybody that they are the team to beat. They are the best team in the league. I mean, the only way to find that out is going to be in game number 2. We're going to head to a short break while everybody gets ready for our draft here. Stick around. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. And welcome back, everybody, for game number 2 here. Team Solo Invade going to be on the blue side this time. Omega Gaming going to be on the red side. Right now, we're not seeing a huge change up in bans. The Amumu still being banned away from Caxi. Lulu still being banned away from Hacks. I do believe the Alawi was banned in game number 1 away from Perspicacious. Is an Alawi player himself. But I'm really curious to see how Omega adjusts after that game number 1. It was a stomp by Team Solo Invade, if I'm going to be honest. It was dominant from basically the opening minute into the late game. It felt like Omega had really no way to come back in that game. So really curious to see how they're going to try to combat that and push us to 3 games here.
Yeah. And like you were saying, the biggest thing here, they don't have access to a lot of those, triple scaling champs. So the comp that they did, there's not a great way to do it anymore. There's still ways. But I don't think most people play them, right? I'm one of the people who loves to play just all these different things bot. I don't think Omega is gonna go that Soraka bot, that Karma bot lane, those other enchanter bot. I think once that Seraphine and Sona is gone, once that Azul is gone, I don't think there's really another comp in the same style they could put together, which I think is a blessing for them considering how that last game went. I think being forced to play a bit more proactive, a bit more on the money this time is going to be a benefit to them rather than a curse. And already seeing the Corki come out, a very strong early pick. Would not be surprised to see the Ashe of the Varus picked up here for Omega, going to try and answer that proactivity. Going to be the Jinx, though, that is a bit weaker in that bot lane if they do decide to go for it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see either a more early game focused enchanter, something like the Janna or the Soraka if they do, or another tank. Or they could just go a jungler here. That's also possible if they don't want to give away yet. Which I would actually prefer doing, not giving away that support quite yet, but we'll see how they play it out this game. Yeah, they are just going to go for this. So going for the classic, the Jinx Sejuani, nothing really too crazy here. And I'd imagine Team Solo Invade just going to respond with a jungler and either pick up their support and pinch that pool or pick up their mid and pinch that one.
Yeah, and I was going to say, for this game specifically, I think my eyes are going to be on Caxi. It kind of feels like he got outpaced by Unleashed for most of this game. It felt like Unleashed was everywhere on the map, and Caxi wasn't really making any plays anywhere. He was there to try to get the counter ganks, but Unleashed was on the other side of the map making a play there. So I really need to see, see Caxi be more proactive on this map and be making these plays to help his team, because Perspicacious was doing a great job in the top lane, but we never saw him get any help to push that advantage to really, snowball him into helping his team, which could have been a big boon for them if they were able to do that. But he also wasn't there to help Saren in the mid lane or Madge and Nubly down in the bot lane. But it's really going to be on which jungler gets the temple this game, if it's going to be Unleashed or if it's going to be Caxi. We see a Wukong lock in, really good champion, really good backline access, thanks to that Warrior Trickster and double Cyclones. But then also the Cho'Gath pickup. Every time I mention this, nobody goes it. But the Hail of Blades AP Cho'Gath is actually strong, right? It does so much damage. The Q is just a flat 6-second cooldown, which instantly clears backline minions and deals so much damage. I really do think that there are benefits for doing this build. I had to play against it. It was not a fun time. You get hit by one Q and you're dead because he gets on top of you with all his movement speed. He hits you with the E, which slows you. And then guess what? His Q's back off of cooldown and you're just going to die. But regardless, I think it's a good thing to go. You can go it. But most of the time when we see a Cho'Gath here and Blue out of Premier League, I bring it up. They go Grasp and they go full tank. So that's what I'm going to be expecting here. Hopefully TSI proves me wrong. But Perspicacious is going to be on this Cassante. He's a really good Cassante player. I think Cassante, despite being actually nerfed this patch, just because of how strong he is in pro play, just a strong blind pick, strong laner, safe laner, I do think, regardless of that, I do think this champion is still really strong. And putting it on Perspicacious, he's popped off on this champion before, so I really like that Omega is choosing to go that. And I also like the bans that Team Solo Invade is going. They're not letting Saren get his Kassadin, which he's really good at. But also the Taric is a big shout out because it's really good into what Team Solo Invade has drafted here.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised to see it banned out either. The Syndra, I like, going for it. You obviously have the Jinx. That's going to be your main form of frontline. Now you have a bit of Burst. You already have the 2 tanks well rounded out. And I'd expect to see an Enchanter locked in on that R5. Probably just don't want to give away just yet, just in case they get countered on it. But yeah, like you were saying, I mean, going that AP build, the Hail of Blades is just so strong. You know, you've been seeing the strength of the movement speed items, not just in the Darius, but the Cho'Gath as well. Rushing Shirelia's Battle Song into like the Dead Man's Plate, being able to get all of this value, the Force of Nature, you have the Mobies, you know, you have the Rift Maker, you have all these options that make roaming around, that make you such a threat that usually, you know, as Cho'Gath, you're extremely immobile, you can't really close the distance, but all that movement speed, all of that sort of creep that we've been seeing has led to a sort of ability to negate those weaknesses, as it were, to sort of close the distance in ways that you weren't really able to on those classic, just pure tank builds. And seeing that you have the follow-up of, sorry, not the follow-up, the primary engage of the Alistair, of the Wukong that are able to go in before you, that you're able to sort of follow up on that on those engages with that movement speed from the Shirley, with all of that rush down. I think this is a really good spot for Team Solo Invade. A very beefy front line, very high damage back line. The big thing is Jinx gets that initial kill, right? You need Jinx to not be getting excited as they were, need them to keep it safe from that initial engage, and the Thresh just does just that, being able to pull that Jinx out to safety with the Lantern. If they manage to get a good Cyclone, if they manage to get a good Alistar engage, you're able to just yank him out and play off that. So both teams going for a pretty standard front-to-back team comp. I'm not too surprised at either of these. I think all things considered, Team Solo Invade tends to look a bit better here, but I don't think either side has that such a significant advantage that good play cannot work around it.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to just bring up that AP Cho'Gath build still. He just also doesn't die. He still gets super tanky regardless if you're building one AP item. So I do think it actually would be pretty good in the comp that Team Solo Invade has here. It gives him that sticking power that he really needs. But I also do like this Thresh pickup by Noobly, because it also not only gives you a form of engage in a way with that death sentence and the flay, but it also gives you that safety that you need for the Jinx with the Lantern. And I mean, they're going to just look to deter what Team Solo Invade is trying to do in the spot lane for most of the game. Thresh is a really good answer into Alistair because you can flay him out of his combo. But, I mean, I think it also works well with the Syndra. Also in a mobile carry who you need to keep safe, the Lantern is great for that too. If they do choose to pull the trigger onto her instead of odd to match on this Jinx, I really do like that holding support for R5 here. I think you also could have gone the likes, like you were mentioning, of a Janna. Does the same thing into Alistair, maybe a little bit less safety, but I do also think that ultimate would be good to push away the Wukong when he tries to get in. But I think the Thresh does effectively the same thing, but just has that more frontline potential than a Janna does. Nobody wants to see a frontline tank Janna because that's just not a thing. But I mean, looking at these drafts, I think this is a better draft here out of Omega after, you know, they went super scaling in that first game and it didn't work out. But Team Solo Invade also has a really strong draft here.
Yeah, you say the frontline tank Janna. I'm just getting flashbacks to the super aggressive top lane roaming Janna that got killed a while back.
Oh yeah, where you build a support item on your first recall, it would have like TP Smite.
Yep, and you would just run around the map with your jungler and be like, okay, you have top lane, and then they would build all the bounty gold, and then you would just go collect the bounty once you were ready.
Yep. Yeah, it was a time to play League of Legends. Riot always finds a way to gut stuff. They, you know, they did, you know, no more Battle Janna, no more double smite, no more lane swaps. Riot really good at like making sure that the game is played the way that they envision it and not the way that, you know, people get creative about of how to play the game and find ways to do it. Like they tried to nerf the
lane swap was awful to watch, though. I'm not too upset about that.
You know what? I agree.
Lane swap was pretty. I hope the Band-Aid doesn't last too long though, because like the way it's working with the Band-Aid fix is like you can't even invade. It's getting a little bit too much. It's like, okay, let's dial back a little bit. But if I had to watch another pro play game where everyone's lane swapping, and nothing is happening for 20 minutes. If you know what it feels like? It feels like old Tracker's Knife League. Like old Tracker's Knife Korean League, where everyone had infinite wards and nothing happened for 30 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Yamato Cannon already found a way to break the Riot lane swap Band-Aid fix. If anybody's seen that video, but I don't think we're gonna be seeing the lane swap in this one. We're gonna head to a short break here while we wait for spectator delay to load us into game number 2, and we'll be back on the other side of that to see who wins here between Team Solo Invade to get a 2-0 or Omega to push us to a game number 3. We'll be right back. And welcome back, everybody, for game number 2. The sides have swapped. We have Team Solo Invade on the blue side, Team Omega Gaming on the red side, and it looks like they're running top lane for a little bit of action. So I'm gonna hold what I have to say in case we get something happening here. But looking over everything, we got Caxi choosing to go for that aftershock here on Sejuani. Classic that we've seen all the time as they're looking to get this level 1 invade going, looking for vision or potentially a pick, but a good ward by SK has spotted this out already.
Yep, and spotting it out means that they're just gonna leave. They don't want the smoke. They don't want anything to happen right now.
Yep.
Just gonna back themselves up nice and quick. NBK as well, gonna put up a little laser, hit nobody, and both teams just gonna walk away, having said hi to each other, but no big deals, all things considered. TSI was able to get a nice cheeky ward onto the Omega red side jungle, though.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be helpful in knowing where Caxi starts.
They got one on both his blue and red. And now that we have this lull in action, I'm going to take a quick moment to give a quick shout out to ProComps, our sponsor and a game changer app for the league community. This isn't just like the other tools. It's your personal draft coach, perfect for both teams and solo players. In fact, you can pair it with any other app you use. With ProComps, you'll receive real-time drafting advice with tailored champion picks and ban recommendations. It stands out with features such as the ability to generate champion pools in seconds that you can share with friends, a post-draft guide to attack the game. You can generate comps based on your preferences. Coaches and analysts can even create personalized tier lists. Think of it as having a virtual coach and strategy toolkit all in one. The app has already over 280,000 downloads and thousands of daily users like you. ProComps is user-friendly and totally free. It's a no-brainer to at least give it a go. Download ProComps now and you'll experience a whole new level of drafting power in your league games. Go to procomps.gg, download it from Overwolf, or click the link in our bio. Once again, that's procomps.gg. ProComps, our sponsor for Blue Otter Premier League.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. I try. But, looking at the early game, once again, we're not going to have a whole lot of action happening out here with both of these jungles. Wukong kind of wanted to farm up for the 6. Sejuani would like it too, but she does have more gank potential than the likes of Wukong in an early game. Wukong can gank in an early game, but without sure setup from your laners, it can be a lot harder to execute on those.
Yeah, definitely. And knowing all this is happening... Oh, Aaron has to be careful. But yeah, like you said, knowing all about this early prio is a very important thing. And I'm going to be honest, I don't like SK here. I don't like going for the grasp. You have such a good game for the AP BOL too. You have such a good game where you're able to close that distance with the Shirley's. You have all these options. You don't just have to build the grasp tank every game.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I said it. Every time I bring it up, it never happens. Once again, nobody's going. The Hail of Blades AP Cho'Gath build that I still think is currently like the best Cho'Gath build because you're not really building AP. You're just building sticking power. And it's so good, but never mind that. Caxi getting a gank here in the bot lane.
Yep, going a little bit too far forward, though. Has to be careful to flay back in. And it's going to be Hacks going forward. It's actually going to be Caxi having to flash out. RJ looking forward just a little bit more, and the auto will lead to first blood. Now Unleashed going forward onto Nubly. Flash and response. Lots of flashes coming out already. Madge with the fully stacked lethal tempo, but those health bars are just not low enough. A lot of early bursts, and I think Caxi got a little bit too antsy there, got a little bit too aggressive, not really thinking about whether Unleashed was going to be there or not, and gets punished on the counter gank.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just the problem with trying to gank these early Jinx lanes. She doesn't do a whole lot of damage in the early game. In comparison to Corki, because of that Gatling gun, you get the armor shred. Never mind, Nubly in a lot of trouble now.
Yep, and Nubly, without any flash, is at risk of another kill. RJ going to be able to pick it up. Unfortunately, not going to be able to get the assist for Unleashed, but still, having your Corki start out 2-0 with this comp going into this Jinx, who's going to be, struggling to scale a little bit more, that's a really nice opener. Really, really big, not just for the lane prio, but being able to get Unleashed ahead, being able to get some ganks off early is going to be really, really nice. And SK as well is going to be able to spot out Caxi, so they know about the invade as well.
Yeah, and Caxi is actually in trouble here just because...
Yeah. NBK's here. Oh, and use the Q. Gonna get the knockup as well. This should be a dead Caxi. NBK is just gonna be able to go for it, and it's gonna be SK picking up the kill. And 3-0 for the Feats of Warfare. Gonna be able to pick up that first round. No objectives yet, but with how strong they are, I expect to see dragons coming shortly thereafter.
Oh no, not again, not like this, not like this, Omega Gaming. But yeah, like I was saying before, Corki is so strong in the early game because of his Gatling gun, and I never mind. I'll hold my thoughts forever because NBK and X-Hax just in the mid lane getting on Saren, forcing that flash out here already. I mean, the way TSI has been playing this already in this early game has been dominant. They've just been everywhere on the map. You know, Unleash was there for the counter gank, and then he was there to basically re-ganked the bottom lane before Nubly even went down, and then SK catching Caxi out in the jungle, and then X-Hax just on the road mid lane. They're just everywhere at all times right now in this early game, but Corki's super strong champion level 1. Gatling gun, you know, shreds resistances, but never mind. All right. I keep trying to talk, and action keeps happening, and I feel like nothing is ever going to be said by me in this game the way it's been playing out these first 6 minutes. But Dragon started up here for TSI. Grubs are being started up for Omega, looking at a trade for that again, and that didn't fare well for Omega in our game number 1, as they did lose that Dragon Soul super fast at 22 minutes in that first game.
Yeah, and we'll see if TSI can cause a repeat, or if Omega's going to be able to fight back. I have hope that with this composition, they'll be able to fight back a little bit more than they were last game. Last game, you know, they had all this insane scaling and really no damage to ever fight. But, you know, here, even with the Jinx, they still have that Syndra, they still have the Sejuani, they have a lot more playmaking potential. So, I'm, you know, hoping that we get a bit more of a fight left in them as opposed to last game. That they're able to sort of fight out these mid-game, be able to get these, you know, component spikes, these big early game spikes, and they're going to be able to fight off of those rather than being forced to just give everything, praying that your stacks come in.
Yeah, I mean, never mind. X-Hax in trouble now.
Just a little bit of poke, but yeah, going forward. I like that from Omega, realizing that it's like, yeah, X-Hax has the Hex Flash, you know, they're sitting in the bush. It's like, okay, maybe we just don't step up too far.
Yeah, I mean, it was also a good sidestep on him to dodge out from that flay. I mean, maybe if he gets flayed there, it's a lot scarier, but never mind. Perspication in the top lane.
Yeah, has to be careful. SK going a bit too far forward, but doesn't have to worry about it. Perspicarious, not going to use the flash. Going to use the all-out, but not get a kill off. SK just going to back himself up there. And, you know, you can see already with the Crystalline Blazer, SK just doesn't really want to interact right now. Just wants to farm up, play this Cho'Gath as a scaly tank, and not have to worry about the 1v1s. Especially against Cassante, who does very stupid Cassante things.
Yeah, I mean, also a really nice rupture out of him. I think if he doesn't hit that, Persp actually gets the solo kill, because he did force SK to flash earlier in that lane when they were trading. So really good on SK to be able to get that and get the spacing from it, because it does also slow after you hit the knockup, which is kind of insane when you really do think about how much CC is just built into that one ability. But I mean, RJ, he's starting to be strong in the spot lane. He's already got himself a nice CS lead. He's on that phage compared to the BF sword, so they're kind of equal power. Corki does take a little bit longer to scale up and just misses on the hook as Nubly. It feels like every time RJ is just out of range of that, but they're gonna have some scrapping down here in the bot lane. Caxi's here.
Yeah, and they're gonna be able to get the flash out with the chompers, but not gonna be able to get anything else. A nice hook from Nubly though. See if they go in. Not gonna go in quite yet. Don't want to play a little bit too risky, especially knowing that Hax does have that heal still up. But being able to burn the flash is pretty nice.
Yeah, I think if Nubly went in there, he actually dies to just RJ once he
Yeah, I was about to say,
in.
I'm pretty sure being able to get the shred and that extra Q off with the missiles, like, Nubly's kind of low. And without the aftershock, because he already had it on the flay, it's like, you're getting a little bit too close for comfort.
Yeah, and I mean, if we just look here, also look at the mid lane. Saren was forced to burn flash, but he's up 20 CS here in this matchup. So Saren already having a better game in comparison than he did have in game number 1 with all the focus that was put in on him. So really like to see this one out, because this Syndra, if she does get to that late game, just RJ and NBK can't even be on the same screen as her, because she just will hit you with that outplay button, hit you with that unleashed power, and you will just be dead before the fight even breaks out. So if Saren can play safe like this and scale up, this is going to be a little bit harder for TSI to play out in this game.
Yep, and if they're going to be able to get NBK, though, it's going to be huge. Unfortunately, NBK, the big stun and silence, they're not quite going to be able to finish it off. And Saren's forced back again. And NBK's just been doing such a good job in these games of not only playing safe, but really knowing their limits.
Yeah, and I mean, I liked the gank out of Caxi. I didn't like that he held ultimate. NBK doesn't have flash. If you hit him with an ultimate there, I'm pretty sure they just kill him because they can layer that with the CC that you do get out of Syndra. And then, never mind, Perspicacia going for the 1v1 up here on SK.
Yep, we'll have to see. Perspicarius in a little bit of danger. Glacial Prison coming through, but unfortunately Caxi not quite able to connect it. SK and BK gonna be able to just walk out here and Unleashed in a little bit of danger, but does still have the clone, able to go over the wall, playing a little bit aggressively with that though. Using the flash, no note about that one. The exhaust now onto SK, Saren flashing forward, gonna use the Unleashed power, one more orb will do it, and Saren gets on the board. Unleashed, seems like he wanted to, like go down, but once he saw people going back towards Caxi for the E makes very little sense. I feel like you should have either just cloned over the wall or walked out with your team in the first place.
Yeah, and also, Madge hit a nice Super Mega Death Rocket onto NBK and chunked him below a quarter HP, so he couldn't even walk up in that team fight. Because Saren still had that ultimate, if he walked up, he was just going to get deleted by the Syndra. So, really well played by Omega to turn that one around. Perspicacious really started out with the 1v1 on SK and forcing Unleashed to use that early ultimate and flash once Caxi got up there with his own Glacial Prism. And really well turned around by the rest of the team. Noobly getting on the map here on this Thresh and roaming up there for that play. So, it looks like Omega not going down without a fight in this one, but because of the tempo play, because they went for the second set of Grebs again, this Dragon's gonna go over to Team Soul Invade, and we saw this in the first game. They're not gonna have to. They're gonna have to not give over this third Dragon once it does come into the Rift. Considering that it's a Hex Tech one this time, they're really gonna have to play for this one because if you get that on a Victor and a Corki, it's just gonna be so hard to play out these team fights. But I mean, if you get it onto Jinx and onto even the Cassante and the Syndra, it feels really good for Omega. So I hope they play out these Dragon fights a lot better than they did in the first one. Hopefully Perspicacious holds on to that TP beforehand and doesn't use it just to go back up to catch farm. So hopefully Omega has learned from their mistakes in game number 1 and is able to turn it around here in game number 2. They're already up about 700 gold now, thanks to the CS lead that we have up in here in the mid lane. Saren up at 30 CS now. Or sorry, 21 to be exact, but playing this really well on the Syndra that was banned away from him in game number 1.
Yeah, and really showing why it was banned, because NBK, last game completely ran the train, right? Completely, was the conductor in the driver's seat the entire time. Now, still doing very well, but behind in CS, doesn't have a kill, not as strong as he was in this last game on the Vigar. And especially going into it, right, the Aurelion Soul a lot more scaly, Saren just having a lot more agency on this Syndra pick, being able to do a lot more with this early lead, and be able to go around the map in a way that they really couldn't last game.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. Saren, like we said, is playing so much better in this one, really showing his mastery on this champion and this matchup in particular. And he's already on that first item. And believe it or not, despite just RJ getting those... I'm going to hold my breath here.
Oop, has to be careful. RJ dashing through, but it's through the cage. They're not quite going to be able to follow up, though. Hax going into the ultimate. A nice stun there. And a flash going to be able to get himself out. And Omega just have not been able to find anything on this bot side. RJ and Hax able to get out every time. Now another engage up in the top side. Unleashed, popping out the Cyclone. Not quite going to be able to land the knockup on a Perspicarius, but that all out is running out very soon. Not going to have the damage just shortly, but going to be able to use that last little bit of it to dash out of there. No kills happening either around the map.
Yeah, played out well by both sides there. And just RJ only had to use the cleanse on that engage. Still has his flash there, but Hax using having to use both summoners and his unbreakable will as well to be able to survive that one. But I thought we were going to see a kill there in the bot lane for sure, the way it started out there and looked for the side of Omega, but really well played by Team Soul Invade. And then on the top side, Persp really showing his mastery on this Cassante, playing it out well, dodging out on crucial abilities to be able to survive there. And burning the ultimate out of this Wukong before the dragon spawns. Yes, it's 2 minutes away. It'll be back up for it, but it makes his gank potential before that a little weaker if no CC is landed. So really well played by Purse. But looking right now, I mean, everybody's matching one item spikes. Like, just RJ was on the Triforce at the same time that Madge was on this Yuntal. So it kind of felt like they were even in power at that point. And Omega willing to pull the trigger and look for a play on it. Didn't get a kill, but that Yuntal going to be stacking up, feeling good for Madge up here in this early one, as they are starting to look to position around this Rift Herald, because you see Nubly up on this top side. If they are able to pick that one up, that would be feats of monster slaying, because it did not get a cool name like feats of warfare for the first 3 kills of the game, and that will just leave the first turret. But NBK in trouble now. Nice flash there.
Oh man, and the sidestep from the hook. NBK, you know, even if they're not getting all the solo kills this game, still putting on a clinic right here, putting on work, really showing just how good they are about this. And it's going to be TSI picking up first turret, going to give them the feats for the 2nd game in a row. And Perspicarius, I don't think, realized that SBK at this point in the game doesn't need the AP. They can just hit things and kill minions and regen with the bracer. Going for it, the flash not quite going to be able to land the kill, though. Perspicarius with the grasp auto, barely getting himself out of range and then dashing to a minion. SK almost had that one.
Yeah, and they both flashed up there in the top lane. So now Perspicacious doesn't have TP. He's going to need to channel this recall and run down to bot lane, because SK is already on the walk down here. They might just be conceding another dragon here, which I do not like by the side of Omega. It becomes so hard to play that game if you are giving over 3 dragons early in this game. But a big thing that happened when we saw them try to go for that gank on NBK in the mid lane, Unleashed and Hacks zoned out Saren in the bot lane, chunked them down, so just RJ was able to pick up the first turret for his team, giving his team feats of warfare. And no, Purse. Okay, I saw Purse run into the top lane, rerouted towards the mid lane, and is now running back top with no TP. I do not like this call here out of Omega, just because Victor does have a TP of his own, so would be able to join that fight, and, you know, Purse wouldn't have to, so now he's going to have to run back down here to this bot lane as we are posturing around this 3rd dragon of the game. Ignore the overlay. It is not a Cloud Dragon. It is a Hex Tech Dragon that's spawning here onto the Rift. I don't know why Riot's never fixed that.
Yeah, look, it's a small indie company. Can you really expect them to? Now we see another engage. Omega picking up the dragon, and Saren going to be able to pick up Unleashed on the bot side. Going to get traded right back, though. Jungler for support. Now Xax has to be careful. Use the ult, but it's going to be Madge with the rocket able to finish it off. And now SK is in a bit of danger. Going to be a double kill for Saren, as the carries NBK and just RJ going to walk themselves right out of there. But a huge fight win for Omega, who we're looking so hot, able to pick up that drag. Now super far ahead. Saren and Madge picking up some kills there. And they're feeling really good about a game that was, you know, looking a lot like it was last game for the first couple minutes.
Yeah, really well played with them. I liked how Perspicacious did use that all out onto Unleashed just to push him farther away from the dragon, so he could not warrior Trickster over the wall and try to smite it away. So, oh no, RJ. He's already used the Valkyrie. He's in a lot of trouble right now.
Yeah, and without a way out, it does have the flash, though. A beautiful cleanse there to dodge the hook. Gonna be able to send some rockets, and X-Ax is gonna keep him alive. Although the TP should mean that Axe couldn't get it. No! The TP's not gonna come in time. Unleashed gonna be able to use the clone. Not quite a Cyclone, though. Now has to be careful, though, because Saren could manage to pick up a kill here. And, I think Unleashed went a little bit too far forward. Hax was perfectly fine. NBK, what are you doing? He was already out. Is he gonna be able to do it again? Yes, he will. They're not quite going to be able to collapse just yet, but the Herald is up. Unleashed is down, and TSI just making a lot of mistakes here.
So it wasn't Unleashed going too far forward. It was actually just RJ who killed his jungler because he hit the blast
cone. Oh, did he hit the blast cone?
And pushed him into Omega Gaming, so they were able to just turn onto that one. I mean, hey, Omega playing a lot better here so far in this game number 2 than they were in this game number 1. Madge is 1-0-2 on this Jinx. He was doing a lot of damage, but the bigger thing is Saren is 4-0 on this Syndra. He's at 2 items, and he went 2nd item Void Staff. He is going to delete people if they are on the same screen as him. I mean, RJ, despite
and the sword shoes, I mean, yeah, he's dealing true damage right now, basically.
Yeah, it's crazy. But Caxi was able to get on just RJ, and we saw a beautiful Captain Jack cleanse out of him to instantly clear the CC that came out and be able to get that one out, and then Hax there just to play bodyguard, spacing for his AD carry. We thought at multiple points there, Hax was going to go down, but able to play it out really well. Playing super well on this Alistair so far. Yeah, he's only got the 3 assists, but the spacing that he's been creating is actually amazing so far. So big shout out to both supports so far in this game. Nubly, not landing the crucial hooks, but he's kind of doing the same thing as Hax is with the spacing, forcing people to walk away whenever he's looking for these death sentences. But now it looks like they're all on the bottom side here. We don't have any objectives on the map for another 2 minutes. So just looking for Prio, looking for Vision, looking to possibly get picks. But what? Saren? I'm not sure.
NBK's been on a tear. He's out. He's out.
I don't know how Saren died there. I thought Saren was way stronger than NBK was at this point in the game, but never mind. NBK was able to get a solo kill onto Saren and put a shutdown into his own pocket.
Yeah, and now another fight in the bot side. SK versus Perspicarius. Does have the flash, does have the eat if he needs to, but Perspicarius can be able to try and run him down. And, that's a certified Cassante moment right there.
Yeah, another solo bolo out of a solo laner in this game, but now this mid turret is going to go down thanks to the Herald. They're going to look for a second charge here. I really like this. You have 6 grubs. Okay, never mind. I think you could have second charged in there. I don't think you're in super much threat from just the Corki and the Alistar. You could have gotten so much damage on the inner tier 2 with 6 grubs. I think that should have been the play that Omega went for, but I guess they wanted to play a little bit safer on that one. You got a minute from the dragon spawning, and you don't want to have a similar situation that you did in game number 1 where you're just conceding all these dragons and you like to fight them. But now SK gonna go up to the top lane here, does have TP, so it's always hard to outsmite the smite and feast from the side that TSI has. But if Perspicacious can do what he did in the last team fight and zone out both members at the same time, it's going to be easier for Omega to be able to get this one. But now you see Persp in the top lane. You see everybody on the side of Omega walking into the spot side jungle, looking for Vision, looking for picks. We're going to have a fight breaking out in this dragon in about 15 seconds. And, I mean, the way Omega's been playing, I'm going to slightly favor this one, but they're looking to concede it and just go for the Otacon, actually, up in this top lane.
Yeah, and without any contest, it looks like they're just going to give Omega that second dragon, say, okay, we don't really want to fight for soul right now, but we can get a massive combat bonus if we pick up this Otacon, get all that extra XP, get all of those flowers, and, I think someone did the math that each petal is worth about, 100-something gold, 103 or something, so it's almost a Baron, maybe more, just off of petal value you get for your entire team. So, being able to pick up all those is, a really big benefit.
Man, NBK with these fancy feet just slightly dodging out on all the CC that's been coming out this game. He's been playing well on this victory, even with no flash, just weaving in his abilities to build up those stacks and get that poke damage out. He's 2-on-1. I mean, silently a scary victor at this point in the game, especially with the spacing and the way he's been playing so far in this game. So, really curious to see how these team fights look when we get to them. It looks like right now TSI not wanting to go for them because of how strong Magic Saren is. It could just be a disaster for them if they go for them. But I mean, they're looking to just get RJ scaled because Corki's kind of in a power trough right now until he gets that Muramana upgrade, and then he'll be strong again, looking to maybe contest for this the 5th dragon of the game, the 3rd one for either team, and the Baron that's spawning in a minute and 15 seconds.
Yeah. And in that time, both teams not going to be able to pick up any extra dragons. Both of the goldies relatively even. This Jinx on 2 items, very scary. The Corki on 2 items needs to just finish up that man immune, but only 1 stack away. So both teams are going to be really strong. All the carry is going to be, on their big spike. So it's really going to come down to positioning and how both teams play it out. Now you can see Hax looking for Saren, flashing forward, going to be able to land the knockup. SBK going to use the cage. Saren going to use the ultimate. But X-Hax is going to answer right back. Going to be able to roar, get all that resistance, and they're going to be able to pick up a nice shutdown onto Saren there.
Yeah, and really well timed by them because they knew Saren didn't have flash because it's on the same timer as NBK, so able to make that play work before it comes back up. But top lane, we just see them scrapping with each other, but now they're looking to collapse onto the rest of Omega Gaming here. Nubly could be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and if they're not able to get out, Unleashed is going to be able to find a big Cyclone. We'll see, though, RJ going to be able to land a lot of damage, and Nubly's going to go down first. Madge not going to be able to get the reset. You can see X-Hax, looking for the Hex Flash over the wall, getting the Cyclone, but it's going to be interrupted by Madge, who's still kiting back, does get excited. Unfortunately, he's going to get bursted down by just RJ right at the very end there, And just as the Baron spawns, should lead to a pretty easy Baron for TSI if they decide they want it. But with Unleashed down, it looks like they don't want to risk a potential Smite coin flip.
Yeah, and I mean, that was a beautiful flank there by Unleashed to get the threat of getting a 4-man Cyclone there, forcing the rest of Omega to back up, and then gets to the Baron pick, gets over before that's off of cooldown and gets onto both Madge and Caxi. He goes down in the end, but the bigger thing is Madge gets shut down by just RJ. Some more gold going into this Corky's pocket. Really well played by the side of Team Solo Invade, but Omega doing a good enough job to stem most of the bleeding that could have turned into a Baron if Caxi did end up going down there. I mean, Unleashed not having a similar game to he did on that Nocturne in game number 1. He is 0-4, but the flanks that he's been finding in these team fights have been big for the side of Team Solo Invade, and doing enough to create that space that you're looking for, and with the Alistair in his back pocket to threaten this back line. I mean, just RJ and NBK have been almost untouched in these team fights, so really well played by the jungle and support here for TSI.
Yeah, and I think TSI being able to play back these fights every time they sort of, they're like, oh, we're at a disadvantage. They're still going to fight it out. They don't give up. They don't roll over. They're going to play it out with the positioning that they have, and they've just been doing so well about that, Unleashed and SK, maybe not being as well as they could have, but still doing pretty well. NBK has to be a bit careful, but maybe it's Perspicarius who's in a bit of danger. Going to be forced to flash out. NBK uses that ultimate, the Chaos Storm, for the silence. But with Saren TPing up, they're not going to be able to chase it down.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were going to see NBK go down this time, but a great gravity field to create space so Perspicacious could just not stay on top of him, and SK with the walk over to help his mid laner. Yes, he did have, or he still has no flash from the earlier play, but I think if Saren was able to get in range to get on NBK, we would have seen this Victor finally go down, but really well played by him once again with the spacing that he has been playing well around with the gravity field and just his abilities. Oh no, Saren.
Aaron has to be careful. Unleashed, going to be able to get a nice Cyclone off. He needs the recast, but a flash from Saren gets him out of there. And Unleashed barely dodging out on that Glacial Prison. Now Caxi might have been in a little bit of danger, but a nice Lantern from Noobly going to bring him out to safety. Now a hook to try and stop X-Hax from getting Perspicarius, who's going to be forced to run away right after the TP gets used. And it's going to be TSI moving 5 down for the Dragon. We'll see if they try and trade. It's really dangerous because Saren is half HP here. So any fight they take, Saren's going to have to be really careful about a potential rocket or stray laser from NBK.
Yeah, I think they can't contest this one just because Cho'Gath is in the area and that Feast Smite is so hard. So they're going to look to push down this mid lane with the 6 scrubs that they have. And I really do like this call out of Omega. Definitely a lot better this time, but they're looking for the turn now.
Nice stun there. Good block from NBK to keep them from pushing it further forward with that. But a nice stun from Saren, right? They were able to get that. And now they're going to be able to move back towards that Baron and position themselves because Saren was able to regen. But it looks like they're just going to go for backs. Probably they're on a lot of gold. They don't want to fight it just yet. But they're forcing TSI to walk in blind. But once TSI realizes that they're not there anymore, TSI might just try and play for the pressure here.
Yeah, they're going to look to pressure the Baron, but they're going to look for recalls themselves. And I think this is better for Omega because of Hex Gates. They can just walk back in, clear vision, and then look for the threat on the Baron. But, I mean, after that tier 2 in mid lane went down, I did want to shout out that NBK with another perfect gravity field to create so much space so they're not able to look for the engage. They know they're on this Baron, the pings are on, they're trying to sprint up there. NBK is TPing up, they're trying to get SK in, Unleashed in range for the Feast Smite combo, but this is not going down as fast as you think. They're going to have to pull off this one just because they're not willing to coin flip it.
Yeah, and I think this is smart. Both teams not being willing to coin flip this Baron is something that you like to see because, one wrong move and everything that you've been playing towards it just evaporates in a second. 2,000 gold swing and a potential fight, and you're in a bad spot. So, not something you want to see. It looks like they're just going to try and get some siege down, get some poke to see what they can do while Saren's still in base.
I mean, that's also a good thing for Omega because they were down both of their TPs. They forced the one TP out of NBK, so he will have to be on the side that the objective is on. So I do like that out of Omega, knowing, hey, we got TP, we got what we wanted. They have no side lane pressure right now, so we can just back off this, walk back, defend our mid tier 2, and just kind of reset the map right now. So I do like the smart call out of them and, forcing TSI to make a response to that play. It was also a really good ward that was dropped before they took the recall by TSI to be out of the vision of out of the range of the control ward to disable it, so they knew as soon as Omega was able to start that one.
We'll have to see what happens next because both these teams just keep posturing, neither willing to start the Baron, so we'll see if they just wait it out for the next Dragon and TSI tries to claim that Hex Soul, which would be really, really big for them given that range, especially with the Victor. Being able to shoot out a laser from, super far away and land a slow that's then able to be followed up by X-Hacks or Unleashed or a knockup from SK, can be really dangerous. A rocket from Corki as well. You just have super, super long-range slows that hit the entire enemy team. Just gives you a really, really easy way to engage. Same for Omega, but they still need 2 of those Hex Dragons if they want to be able to pick up that soul.
Yeah, I also kind of don't like what Omega's doing here, how they're just kind of A-ramming in the mid lane. I get that Persp doesn't have TP, but I think if he did go top lane, he could have put pressure onto that turret and forced a response there. But, sitting around your Jinx and kind of siphoning away that XP from her is not what you want. You kind of want Jinx to get to this level 16 to have a, more damage on that Super Mega Death Rocket, as well as a bigger execute range onto these neutral objectives if you're looking for that steal, because just RJ is level 16 while Madge is only level 14. So this Corki is a lot stronger in just base stat total right now because of that level discrepancy. And the way that they've just been siphoning XP from Madge can make it really difficult to win out these team fights just on a base raw damage number because of the efficiency that you get just from XP and level ups in this game. But right now you have Saren in the top lane. Both solo laners have TP. Oh no, we're going to fight.
Yep, and lots to see the engage come out. Unleashed running through the box, but not going to be able to keep Nubly alive, who just goes a little bit too crazy there. Caxi now has to be careful as X-Hex goes in with the flash and the heal, but not quite going to be able to finish him off. However, getting that Lantern out, getting that main form of engage is really, really big for TSI. And they're going to look back towards the Baron. You can see SK walking up as well. First Vicarious does not have TP and was spotted bot side, so they know that's happening. X-Hacks and SK going to try and zone the rest of the team off here. To see a silence comes out from Saren. Caxi getting knocked away. Needs to get a ward down, see if he can get this potential steal, but the Baron's going very low. And the flash from Caxi, not quite going to be able to get him over the wall. Now goes over, but it's just to his death. 20 seconds on the soul as all of TSI is backing, and they're going to be running right through those portals. You can already see the pings coming through. Now they have the Baron, they have the recess, they have all of this extra gold. They want the soul as well.
Yeah, and that was just a snowball play off of Nubly getting caught. Persp had TP'd to the bot lane before that, knowing that he, thinking he can pick up that CS and push it out there. But a quick response by TSI once they get that pick to turn on to the Baron with X-Hacks and SK just zoning out the other members. And now this is probably going to be Soul going over here to TSI because Caxi's down. They're going to have to look for something out of Saren, but it's not going to happen just because you have Smite and Feast on the side of TSI. And now that's Hex Dragon going over... Sorry, Hextech Soul going over to TSI, and it's just a snowball upon a snowball, but Unleash is getting the engage again.
Yep, and Omega just have not been looking their best today, constantly getting caught out over and over and over again, and now that they have the Soul, you can already see these Hex slows coming through, and just how devastating it is for these team fights.
Yeah, and it's so hard right now, especially with that Hex Soul as the side of Omega, to look what you're doing for because of the range that is on the side of TSI with just RJ, with these rockets, with MBK, with these lasers out of Victor. It's hard now, especially with a Baron push coming out here too. It's starting to look like this is going to be the end of the game here as TSI is looking to prosper. Omega's going to have to defend, wait out this Baron, and look for it. But if TSI stays in this position and keeps the momentum that they have, it's going to look like they're going to get the win here. And they're getting an engage again by X-Hacks.
Yeah, and it just feels like over and over again, Omega step forward, they die, they're just not respecting the abilities that TSI has. Getting hit with the slows over and over. However, Madge getting excited and a lot of health bars low. They're going to be able to finish off with a rocket as well. Madge going forward, this might be their turn.
Madge?
To be able to finish up just RJ. We'll have to see Madge, though, getting destroyed by the Chaos Storm as NBK whips up a monster to kill the rest of Omega. God. And with just 10 seconds left on Nubly and no one else alive, TSI take the Battle of Titans in just 2 games and a combined 70 minutes. Both of those games pretty short. TSI just dominating victories in both of these games.
That was Madge's highlight moment. And
It
because
was
of
so
the chaos,
close.
and because of that Victor Chaos Storm, it just was not possible. We've seen it before. We've seen Jinx get those big get excited and turn it into a pentakill, but because of how strong the Victor was, because of how much the Chaos Storm had already grown in that team fight, it just was not able to happen. And I mean, hey, Team Soul Invade played so well off the small macro decisions that they made and the small macro slip ups that Omega made. And once they got that Baron, they turned it into a Soul and turned it into the end of the game. I mean, both NBK and just RJ deathless in this game. And I mean, I think I'm just going to have to give the MVP personally myself to NBK again in this game. I think he played absolutely perfectly in this one.
Yeah, NBK just did so well in both these games. Even when he was, 0-0-1 and Saren was just so far ahead, just couldn't die. He seemed completely unkillable. Just a titan in both these series. I'm pretty sure he went flawless in the entire series, right? I don't think he died on the Vigar either.
Yeah.
Completely flawless game. Amazing play from NBK. And, I was kind of hoping for a little bit more, but TSI just, both these games, the second a lot closer than the first, but it still felt like they were in the driver's seat pretty much the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like in the mid game, it was kind of Omega favored, but TSI was able to turn it around and, carry it to the end. I mean, and in the Battle of Titans, TSI remains undefeated, picking up the 2-0 victory over Omega here in this one. A tough week for Omega, gonna have to look to bounce back and really, win out next week to secure that second round bye for them, or the first round bye being the number 2 seed. It could be rough, mentals could be a little bit shaken after the series that they had today, but big games from TSI really showing that they are the ones to be feared here in BOL Premier and played well by every player on their team. We're going to head to a short break as we get ready for our second series here today. That's going to be between Conduit Gaming and High Alert. That'll be happening around 6 EST. So in about 3 to 4 minutes, we'll be getting into draft for that one. So stick around and we'll be back once they are ready for draft for that game number 1. We'll see you shortly. And welcome back, everybody. We are here for our second series of the day. We have Conduit Gaming versus High Alert. Two teams that are kind of sitting towards the bottom of the standings right now. Conduit, our number 5 team, and High Alert at 7 on the outside, looking in for playoffs. Really going to need to pick up a win here versus Conduit, as Elysium had picked up a win, the team they were kind of fighting for that 6th spot right now. But it's going to be a good series that we have here today. I heard that Pine Conduit is going to be playing in the jungle, one of the, I think, best junglers in Emerald. Personally, as playing with him and seeing him play, I do think this guy is really good and will elevate the gameplay that we've been seeing out of Conduit lately. Feels like they kind of struggled some points in the game, but it also feels the same way for High Alert. It feels like if Bear up in the top lane isn't on this Cassante, it comes really rough for this team. So both teams struggling lately, looking to bounce back in this one. I'm excited for this series. How are you feeling about this one when it rains?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm hoping, maybe a little bit more interesting than the last one. I think bottom teams tend to be a little bit more volatile. Last time, I still think Omega played really well in that second game. I still think it was very good. It's just like teams know how to end games. The higher end, there tends to be a bit less volatility. Teams know what to do with the lead. Once we get to the lower end, teams tend to, struggle a bit more with closing out a lead. Things can be a bit more fun, especially in those late game team fights. It's not as sort of predetermined, so hoping that leads us down a bit more of an interesting path. But we already see the B1 Seraphine locked in, so we'll see if Conduit got some ideas.
Yeah, we'll see if they can perform on the Seraphine. Knowing these players, I don't think that Conduit support Ipsy is going to be playing that one, or as I like to call him, Yipsy. I don't think he's going to be playing that one himself. He's more of an engaged player in my eyes, so really seeing this flex between the mid and the AD carry here, Drizzen or Glada. But like I mentioned, Bear is going to be on this Cassante. It's going to be up to CZI to counter that one here, but we see the Jinx. We saw it in the last game. It almost had that highlight moment that we all know Jinx for. So hopefully Verja can show up on this one and make that a reality while, looking to fight for the last playoff spot. But with this, Seraphine pick, I would like to see Glada, go towards maybe the Ashe and be more of a supportive champion in this game. He had a really good Ashe game last week, despite not being able to pick up the win in that game. But I did like what I was seeing from him on that champion. So hopefully he does choose to go that one, but an insta Garen lock in to answer this Cassante. What are your thoughts on this matchup in particular?
I know it's definitely like Garen sided. It's definitely big Garen favored, but Cassante, especially once you get that 6, can definitely fight back. It's not like it's not like super one-sided. It's definitely Garen favored, but I don't think it's the worst. And if Hyler definitely wants a tank top laner, I think Cassante is probably a pretty good option, knowing that they already have that Garen. And we are going to see the Melio locked in as well for the Jinx. Going to be able to sort of stop those Jarvan engages. Going to be a bit more on the peel side. So I definitely like that. Going to be able to cleanse the Encore as well. Very strong. So overall, these teams, pretty standard, all things considered so far. We'll have to see if there's anything crazy coming in the second round. But yeah, High Alert, a couple of the Draft League players that I know quite well, Verja, Bear, all of these players that have played quite a bit. So definitely a little bit of favoritism, but I'll try to stay unbiased.
All right, it's fine. I'll be the Conduit favoritism here then.
You'll be the Conduit stand.
I do like the Draven pick just because they had already locked in the Jinx. A mobile carry needs the flash to get out of that Cataclysm or you try to fight your way out. But it also is similar to Milio. Even if you do kick Jarvan out of the flag and drag, he can still get on top of you with the Cataclysm. And if Milio doesn't have flash, they're also going to have to try to fight their way out of it or, flash out. But we do get the Victor and Mel ban away from Drizzen here. I know 2 champions he has been playing in solo queue and prioritizing. So I do like the call out here from Hyler going for that one. But he does have other champions that he can play. He does have his Hui. I say that and I see that it's already been banned out in phase 1. So really focusing down Drizzen in this one. So I would expect to potentially see that Seraphine is actually going to be in the mid lane and not flex to bot lane or support here in this game, just because the champion pool does look a little bit pinched. He could look to pull out maybe a Viger or something like that, but I'm really curious to see where Hyler does go with this draft. I know Ryu had a really good game on the Viego last week in game number 1 that they were able to win on, but they're going to choose to go for an Orianna here in mid lane for full metal, potentially looking at that Orianna Nocturne combo here from their mid jungle for High Alert. But now we're going to get the response of potentially either a mid laner or support and ready to carry here for Conduit. Not really sure where the Seraphine is going until we see what is locked in here. I still mentioned it. I would like the Ashe pick here. I'm really curious to see what Conduit is going to be prioritizing here. It's going to be an Ari for Derizen. He had a good Ari game last week, not able to pick the win up on that one. But I do like this pick into what so far Hyler has drafted.
Yeah, I'm liking it so far. I think Conduit very clearly have a very engaged centric game plan so far. So going a bit more of those peels, but also something that can, work around the Orianna, loses to the Ahri, but can neutralize the matchup. Isn't super weak, isn't going to feel like completely useless, and the Lee Sin hover, the Kindred hover. We're just going to get Viego.
Okay, we're probably going to get Viego here. Okay, there's something I need to say here. Because last week, we saw Ipsy on the Thresh, and it felt so bad because he had a really good early game play in the lane and just wasn't followed up by his team, which kind of just snowballed him into just dying a whole lot. I know Ipsy is a good Thresh player. I'm hoping that we don't see the same thing here out of Conduit in this one. I think it's going to be a much more supportive Thresh instead of an aggressive one in the lane because it is paired with that Seraphine. So hopefully we're not going to see the same issues that we saw in Conduit from last week, and hopefully they're able to do this one. But I think now that Bear and Ryu are on the Xante and the Viego respectively, and Orianna 4 full metal, we saw them play these 3 champions together last week, and it went very well for them. So looking to, recreate what worked for them in their game 1 success of last week, trying to get a win and a series win here, which is much needed for them at this point in the season to still have a chance to make that playoff push, while Conduit is also looking for a win themselves to secure themselves in that playoff spot that they already do have. So both teams playing for a lot here, even though it's a lower stakes game. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be fun. But looking at these 2 drafts, who are you favoring here in this game number 1?
I want to say, given that it's a lower level team, I always think like the easier team to pull off tends to be the one that I favor. Even if that's not always the case, I still think Conduit has they have a very face rolly team comp. They want to run in with the Jarvan and then kill you and hit you in the face a bunch of times and use the Encore and basically just like go forward. They want to just go forward. High alert. Gonna have a bit of a harder time, especially in the 4v4. I think Garen is gonna keep Bear locked to that side lane quite a bit. And I'm wondering if High Alert really is the front line to deal with that engage from Conduit, backed up by the Encore, backed up by all this, cage and like AoE damage. I don't know if they're going to be able to deal with it without just being annihilated on the first shot, right? They don't have a lot of ways to stop it, and aside from that shockwave. So I think it's really going to be about these big shockwaves. If they can get them off, if High Alert can manage to land them, I think it'll be quite good. If not, things are looking very iffy for me.
Yeah, I tend to agree with what you're putting down here. I do kind of favor Conduit in this one just from their draft. I also do think that if CZI on this Garen does get that early lead, it's going to be really hard in the side lane for High Alert to be able to respond to that one. We all know the classic solo queue Garen. He gets 1 kill on my top laner, and then he shows up to a team fight, and he's 7-0 with 3 items, and he's just unkillable and murders my whole team. So maybe Conduit looking to replicate some of that, but also, the pick potential that they have in this comp is really up there, while High Alert needs to kind of get more of that wombo with their ultimates between the Orianna Shockwave, the Heartbreak from Viego, and even the All Out from Bear on this Xante. So it's going to be a little bit harder to execute if they're not able to chain that all together. But we saw them succeed on that last week, and hopefully they're able to do that again this week to get the win that they much need, like I have mentioned already. But we are in quiet and draft, so we're gonna head to a short break here as we wait for the spectator delay and get us onto the Rift. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. And welcome back. We are on the Rift for game number 1 here between Conduit Gaming and High Alert. Conduit going to be on the blue side, High Alert on the red side. Looking over at everything, runes, summoner spells, everything is stock standard here for this game number 1. So it's really just going to be a lot of execution out of both of these teams with the comps that they drafted to be able to pick up this much needed win and series win here for both of these teams.
Yeah, and both teams, starting off, relatively simple. I say that as we already see some poke coming out, forcing the flash out of Full Metal. And Yipsy, Full Metal stepping up there, I think not realizing that. And, when you go for this 5-point and you're not watching the entrance bushes, Rich is not quite there watching the bush entrance, that's kind of what happens, right? You're at risk of just getting jumped in the mid lane, and Full Metal being down flash into the Ahri Jarvan early on as Orianna, not the situation you want to be in.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Now that is a red light, a green light there for the side of Conduit, knowing, hey, this Orianna, this immobile mage has no flash. We have Jarvan, we have Ahri. I would expect that Pine is going to just take his top side cams here, hit level 3, and instantly look for that gank in the mid lane once the Risen does have that charm here on Ahri. And Full Metal is going to have to play with so much respect here in this lane to be able to survive. But we already see, CS trading in the mid lane, Drizzen picking up that whole first wave. Top lane, a little bit less here out of both of them, both dropping a bunch of CS here in the early game, but just looking for trades onto each other. But nice double root there by Glada in the spot lane, but takes a big chunk of damage in return thanks to Rucha having that empowered auto attack. By Verja, the empowered auto attack thanks to Rucha's passive on this Milio getting that bonus damage across there. But Conduit bot lane, not really going to be looking to fight. High Alert's also not looking for that. Both of these carries, both looking to scale up into this game and then just be such a force in the late game for both sides, respectively.
Yeah, and now the flash down, looking at that mid lane pro, I think a lot of things are going to focus around that just because getting those roams, and especially, these junglers aren't upset about fighting over early objectives, so I think a lot of this is going to come down to which mid lane gets prio, where the ganks come off. I say that, though. Beautiful root, forcing the cleanse off of Verja. Glada and Ipsy can be able to dodge out on the shock pistol, but Verja taking a lot of damage for it, and being forced to use the cleanse there is a big deal.
Yeah, and I mean, Glada's been doing a really good job down here in the bot lane, not using a lot of his abilities, so he's not burning through mana and hitting crucial ones. He's hitting these roots, he's hitting the Qs onto Verja, so keeping them chunked down in this in this lane makes it a lot harder, and especially now that he has no cleanse, it's going to be a lot rougher if Ipsy does hit one of these death sentences and followed up by Glada, but they're also getting traded back on effectively well. Each laner is about half health, Ipsy being the healthiest one in this lane right now, but I think the only thing that you could debate is a little interesting is that the Risen didn't go for the electrocute on the Ahri that we see a lot of the times now with the buffs from it. He went for the Airy. Oh my gosh.
So close. But a flash force out from Jerson. I don't really know if they were expecting that early pressure, but having the flash down and having that sort of desynced means Full Metal is going to get that flash up earlier and probably going to have the flash advantage at level 6, which is a very big deal in this matchup, because if you can get that 6 early, knowing that Darrison doesn't have the flash, and if they can't get the Spirit Rush in time, that could be a really good opening for, the Viego to just come mid and kill them.
Yeah, I really thought that Drizzen was going to hit that, but I think the minion walked right in front the time he went to go for that flash charm with Pine in the area, and just barely missed that window to get that kill onto Full Metal here in the early game. But yeah, Drizzen's going to be down the flash, but once he's level 6, he does have that Spirit Rush to be able to create that space that he needs once Full Metal's flash is back up, and he does have that command shockwave. So it's really going to be how Drizzen plays out this lane now that he doesn't have flash and that Full Metal is coming close. Back up off of this cooldown, but overall, I mean, Glada doing a good job in this bot lane. Gonna probably only be down 2 to 3 CS at this point in the game, which is really good for the side of Conduit, especially when you're playing this AP mage. It can be a lot harder to farm up in the early game, but Glada doing a really good job here in this game. Looking up at the top lane, Both laners about even in CS. Jungle is about even. So everything just even. Just a couple of burnt flashes here in the early game as we're looking at this dragon as the first objective on the grubs the next one. So really curious to see which one each of these teams is going to be prioritizing here.
Yeah, and it looks like the pings coming out. Conduit want to focus up towards that that top side of the map, get those grubs online, and you can see the video already starting up. That dragon here wants to pick up those, so it looks like we're going to get another trade. Neither team really wanting to fight over objectives this early on, and I gotta ask, do you speak Korean? Because
No.
Okay.
I've been told that his name is Ryu. That's what I've been told.
Ryu? Okay.
Yeah.
I will refer to them as Ryu because unfortunately I cannot read the Korean alphabet.
Okay, so
or script or
I
don't
can
know
read a little bit of Korean. I can't read a lot of it as the resident K-pop stan and Korea boo. I've been trying to learn. Being dyslexic makes it a little bit harder to learn other languages, if I'm being frank here. But I can read a little bit of it.
Korean also seems like a really hard one to learn. Like that.
Oh yeah, because all Western dialects are hard because they have two versions. You have your formal and informal, so it can always be a lot harder because words are different for each one. But regardless of that, Ryu, the jungler, but never mind, ignore that. Bear's going to be ganked up here in the top lane.
Does have the flash they needed. Darson going in is forced to burn the flash because of the charm. But a nice pickup there. Going to be able to hopefully get some plates, but full metal in the mid lane. Just going to try and beat on this tower. With no grubs, though, probably not going to be able to get a plate. Is going to be able to push that wave in, though, get a bit of a CS lead, and take a nice free back. Going to be very beneficial going into that sort of second stage of the lane that you tend to see. The one where, you know, people aren't quite out of lane yet. There's not a ton, but more rotations are happening. Levels are a bit bigger. Ganks can start really being deadly. You know, things generally just ramp up in difficulty.
Yeah, definitely can. But now Full Metal's going to be taking this recall. I think it's going to be a lot harder for Bear in this top lane just because CZI can have that kill threat onto him. Just because everybody knows that Tomasian Justice is kind of a broken ability, does true damage, has that execute threshold. So it can be really difficult if Bear does overstep in this lane. But another interesting thing is that CZI didn't go the phase rush Garen, which is what we see a lot in solo queue, because that also does give him the much needed sticking power that it feels like Garen lacks sometimes. It's really weird to say because he does get the movement speed buff from the Q. But regardless, he went for the Conqueror for these longer trades, as Glad going to take a little bit of harass here, but I think overall be fine. I say that.
Oh, has to be careful. Glada gonna be able to make it out. Does still have the Encore if they need it, and Verger with no rocket, not a massive threat, but still, you know, has to be fairly careful, even with the flash and the Encore. If you don't get the shield off in time, you know, one well-placed rocket, you know, and a shock pistol could really be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, the bigger thing is Verger really has no mana, so you're going to have to be careful. But now that I talk about it, CZI is looking for a trade up here on the Bear in the top lane. And gets a pretty good one. Garen with that E does get to shred armor, so can be really difficult in this 1v1. That's why a lot of people do pick Garen into the Cassante matchup. But now you see the pressure stepping up here for bot lane. Ipsy was trying to look for something as Rucha went to ward because Pine was in the area, but I do believe he got super mega fire kicked, I believe is the name of it, out of the wombo combo that Jarvan does have.
Yeah, that wombo combo just able to put people in the dirt if they need to, but with Full Metal playing as well as they are, I'm a little bit more worried. Oh no, Darson flashes and charms the minion. Ipsy's still here though, and Full Metal is still forced to flash, knowing that the Spirit Rush could still be deadly. But it will just be faster flash. Darson was so close, but not quite able to land that one.
Yeah, really close. Once again, looking for the solo kill there in the mid lane. I mean, we're about 10 minutes into this game, and no real action has broken out here besides the trades on neutral objectives. But now Bear is in this bottom lane as they're putting their... Okay, we talked about it. It's lane swap time.
Yeah, well, this isn't really a swap. This is just rotating your bot lane up, assumedly for the second round of grubs, which I'm not too surprised about. Hyler doesn't want to give them that 6th grub, and with the Dragon desynced for about a minute, means that if they're able to get this, if they're able to get some priority off of it, being able to get those rotations off and get sort of more of this carry prio up top lane is good. Ipsy And now I'm going to be spotted on the ward, though, so no real danger of a gank there. Full Metal, though, collapsing, might be able to get the Shockwave, is only going to land on Ipsy. Now, Pinel in a bad spot, though. The box comes through. A nice Cataclysm. It's going to be first blood for High Alert, but now a beautiful Encore comes through, and it's going to be glad at picking up the second kill of the fight. Now a TP coming through. It's going to be CZI going forward and slaying out Verja. Ryu has to be careful, trying to dodge out a little bit. Does still have the Heart Piercer, but it's going to be the Soul Rush, or sorry, the Spirit Rush that gets Dearson the kill and picks up the Feat of Warfare for Conduit. We're now going to be able to pick up the full 6 scrubs on a beautiful rotation, and all High Alert get is a couple plates onto Bear.
Yeah, and I mean, that was the combo of Jarvan and the Seraphine. They got the Cataclysm and a huge Encore across the top, and then CZI TPs in, gets onto Verja in the backline, who had no summoner spells. Ipsy, the only one to go down there, really well played. They forced everything onto him. He got hit by the Viego, then the Shockwave only hit onto him because the Risen went onto, because Pine went onto Full Metal, dodged out of that one. But now Bear is going to be the one who's the focus here, as everybody is here for the side of Conduit in the bot lane.
Yeah, and a beautiful rotation there. Picking up the 3 grubs, rotating right down to catch out Bear before that dragon. And Bear does still have the all-out, does still have the flash, but it's going to be so hard for him to survive here. Just a little bit more damage, and Glad is going to pick up another kill. Now going forward with the Spirit Rush, Dearson going to try and find Ryu or Rucha, but not going to be able to get either. However, Verja being in mid lane does have the rocket. They have some, but Full Metal's not down here, which means Conduit get the full 6 scrubs, the dragon, and a bunch of kills. They are ecstatic with how that the last 2 minutes played out.
Yeah, they're playing really well. The issue that I've seen with Conduit, though, is that they do get these early leads, but it kind of feels like sometimes they are struggling in the later stages of the game to close out the leads when they have them. And it could be kind of difficult with the comp they have, because they have no really good sieging pressure, because they don't have the classic 80 carry who does a lot of damage to turrets in the later games, like the side of High Alert does with Verja on this Jinx. It can be hard because it does take you a little bit longer to take these turrets, but the fact that you have 6 grubs is going to help a lot, where the team comp draft that Conduit has does flaw a little bit, which is the sieging power, but 6 grubs can really make up for that, because you get that bonus damage to turrets, and the Voidlings helping take that down is going to be really a boon to Conduit in this game. And I mean, I like what the Risen's going here. He's got the early Malignance, and an interesting choice. He went for the Boots of Swiftness this game, not a pickup we see a lot of times on the Ahri. We normally see maybe Merc Treads. Sometimes I could see like CD Boots, Ionian Boots, or normally it's just the straight up Magic Sword shoes. But choosing to get that, movement speed, which can be helpful from the slows that do come out from the side of High Alert, and
Ooh,
uh-oh. Oh no.
I'm getting flashbacks last week.
Oh no. Oh, hopefully Ryu can connect quickly, as we are in a pause, because we did see that the jungler for High Alert, Ryu, has disconnected. Hopefully he's able to figure that out and get connected shortly, as you are going to see my face, and then, when it rains here, as so far Conduit has been playing a pretty solid early game. And thank gosh we're back in. Oh my gosh, only brief moment there. Thank gosh we're not sitting here for a little while. But yeah, Conduit having a really good early game so far here, as they're looking to set up a dive onto Bear. It should be known, because Ryu was recalling in that bush. Don't worry, classic spectator bug where there's like a weird pause after a pause in the game for some reason. But Bear is in trouble. He doesn't know CZI sitting in that bush. There's cutting the wave as Ryu tries to get up here. This could be a good play here for Conduit, but could be played out even better by High Alert, depending on how it works. We'll see what happens.
Yep, now an engage up in the top side. Bear gonna try and use the all-out to get out of the Cataclysm, but able to keep it out. It just feels so bad right now for High Alert, right? Each time they try, I'm safe for a little bit. No, 4 members of Conduit are there to just jump you. You are never safe.
Yeah, and Glad is holding strong here in the spot lane by himself in a 2v1. Seraphine's so good at that because of the wave clear power that she does have. But Conduit just seems like they're everywhere on this map. Every time Barry thinks he can pick up a wave, he can. It gives me flashbacks to Saren in that game #1 on the ASOL. Oh my gosh, Glad getting a big chunk there onto Verja.
Yeah, forcing Verja to stay with Verja, knowing that, like, at any point, if Verja just goes a little bit too far away, Glada lands one good E, and Verja just gets chunked out to have another good E, and it could be death. So Versha's always gonna have a buddy, and Glada can, harvest a lot of that solo XP while Ipsy just sort of stands off to the side or goes on roams and doesn't have to worry. And you can already see Glada with a level advantage.
Yeah, and nice death
We'll
sentence
see.
there, but not gonna matter. The traps come down. Nice spacing by Razor from that, but this bot lane is taking a beating from just basically Glada himself. He was just there to defend him, but the Risen taking a bad trade there, but Full Metal and even worse as Pine's here. He could look for it, but a good ward spots it out. Full Metal gonna be able to get away from that one and live with his life. Same as the Risen as they were trading there in the mid lane.
Yep. Love to see it. And both teams, ooh, maybe a fight.
Did we just heartbreak the Raptors? Did we just ult for Raptors?
So I'm pretty sure the Smite AoE actually took it first.
I'm in shock.
And then he hard piercered nothing.
That was...
I'm gonna be honest.
insane.
The smite your own camp into heart piercer nothing into B emote combo remains undefeated. Bear though popping a 2v1, getting one already, and CZI has to run away, has to be very careful here as Bear flashes forward, looking to get a little bit more. Needs to get the knock up. The true damage though, but it's not gonna be quite enough as Bear picks up another one. It's gonna be the shutdown going over to Ryu. Now 2-1-0 on the Viego. Beautiful plays from Bear there. Who doing Cassante things.
Cassante is the new Ornn. You do not tower dive a Cassante unless you are 100% sure you could get the kill. I think he got a good early flick back onto Pine because we saw that CZI still had his ultimate there, so they were not like fully committed to the dive. I think Bear played that out. He probably got a flick back into an all-out under the turret onto Pine, which, did cause the death there for him. But now Full Metal's in trouble.
Oh, we'll see. Maybe. You could see Full Metal, like, trying to get something, trying to land big shockwave. Almost there, but not quite going to be enough. A rocket coming through. Gonna force the flash from Garrison. Now with the dragon up. Has to be careful. Full Metal caught out. The flag and drag comes through, puts him in the box. And it's just a matter of time before Glada picks one up. You can see Rucha trying to use the ultimate to get him out there, but it's not quite going to be enough. As Full Metal gets taken out. And Glada picks up another one. Glada just, so many kills this game, and you would think, the lack of an ADC, the lack of a traditional carry, but no, it doesn't matter. The mages, the burst that they're able to get, combined with the picks, the CC is just devastating, and a lack of super consistent damage doesn't really matter when you're killing someone 100-0 every time they get caught.
It also doesn't matter if you're hitting every ability, which it feels like Glada has been doing every time we look at him in this game, and I mean, it was a good flash by Full Metal to escape from the Cataclysm, and they were able to turn it with Ryu being there and the rest of the team coming up, but a better death threat sentence out of Ipsy to hit onto Full Metal and having no flash, and was able to turn it. He's looking for another one.
Now we'll have to see. The Encore comes through. The flay back. Rucha getting caught, and it's going to be the Flag and Drag to finish him off. Ryu going to be able to finish off Glada, but not able to pick up the body in time. Unfortunately, the Charm goes wide on Diversion, but going forward more. Lethal Tempo popped out. You can see him dodging back and forth. They catch Full Metal with the hook. The Flag and Drag not quite going to land, but they are going to be able to pick up the kill anyway. And Versia just pumping out rockets, but doesn't quite have the damage to be able to take any of the kills. Conduit just winning fight after fight after fight.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Ipsy hit 3 death sentences in that fight, and Glada, the only one going down, played out really well by the rest of the Conduit there. They're going to get this mid lane turret here. That's going to be their second turret of the game. We already saw Glada picked up first turret in the bot lane first team, so I think they were already on the feats of strength, but if they weren't, secured that one for his team. So side of Conduit playing really well in these first 18 minutes. Hopefully they're able to continue this and look for the closeout here, but High Alert has had some good responses. It just feels like at this point they just don't have the damage to be able to get another death sentence. Oh my gosh, Ipsy having a highlight reel for himself in this game so far.
Yeah, and man, these hooks have just been deadly. Feels like they're coming straight from a Mad Life montage.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's missed maybe 2 this game so far. Definitely having a better Thresh game than he did last week. And I mean, Verzia did almost steal that Rift Herald with the Super Mega Death Rocket. It was tanked by Derision, so it was only the outside burst damage that got onto it, so it was able to be picked up by Conduit. But it feels a little rough for High Alert right now. The way the side of Conduit has been playing as basically a 4-man unit all game. It feels like anytime Pine goes somewhere, Ipsy and Derision are with him, or Ipsy and Glada are with him, or CZI and Derision are there as well. It just feels like they're always making these 4-man plays, these odd numbered plays, and able to get so much momentum out of it. I speak of that. We see Pigs on the top side, and guess who's there? It's Ipsy and it's Pine. They're gonna be looking to dive bear on this wave.
Oh, Bear. Can he do it again? We'll have to see. Goes in on Ipsy. Tries to get the unstoppable back, but is just going to back off towards Rusha. Doesn't want to try and try and be fancy with it. Knows that it doesn't have to be too crazy. See all those mites charging down. They're going to see if they can grab CZI when he gets out. They're going to be able to knock him back towards that tower just a little bit more, and the all-out keeps him under. Now going through. Nice encore onto 2, though. The damage comes through, but Rooch is going to be able to heal it back up, and the shield comes through. Now Verge is excited. Going to fire down onto Glada. Needs the rocket, but Glada's going to be able to flash it 1-for-1 so far. And it's going to be P9 that puts him in the cage. Now Bear forced out, but it's going to be a double kill for Glada as Full Metal, the last one under the tower, going to go down a triple for Glada. And it is just Ryu, who's been hanging off in the jungle all the time, just going to watch his tower get run down, his team get destroyed, and watch Conduit back up from another amazing fight.
I for sure thought Glada was gonna die there once I saw the Verge Super Mega Death Rocket fly out, but he flashed and then just hugged the wall so it didn't, and he was able to turn back into that fight and make it work. And now this is going to be Otacon for the side of Conduit here. They have been playing phenomenal in this game, number one. It feels like they're always there as a unit to be making these plays and always just coming out on top of them. Having the better hands, it feels like. Everybody living on such low HP and making everything work the way they need to. I mean, across the board, everybody's died once, and the only one that's gone down twice is CZI, and that was because in that last play, he just got yoinked 50 yards away from his team, and oh god, Ryu's dead. That's the Garen gameplay, folks.
So my question is, like, obviously you need to know how to play against Garen to get out of, like, silver and gold, right? Like, that's a given. But do we just forget how to play against Garen once we get to Emerald? Like, do we forget the pain of our gold climb the second you're not forced to play in the hellhole anymore? Like, the amount of times I've seen Garen work by just, like, both teams chilling in mid and Garen just like, I'm going to run at you for the next 20 seconds, and then it just works. Like, Bear caught once again. Probably not going to be able to work the magic this time. Maybe. No, nice hook. Ipsy gonna land another one. They still have the drag up. Tower's going down. You can see Versia desperately trying to get something in the mid lane, trying to trade back sort of consolation prize at this point, but it just feels so bad for High Alert, as Conduit had been in the driver's seat this whole game.
Yeah, like you said it perfectly. They're up 6k gold here. They just really haven't taken their foot off the gas in this game. And like I keep saying, they're making plays as a full unit. They're not going for like 2v1s. It's always 4v1 or 4v2 or 5v2, 5v3. They're always going for these odd number plays that benefit them so much, especially with the comp that they've had drafted. It feels like the whole team has been everywhere this game. Look at the KP across the whole board. Even CZI, the classic top laners don't get involved in the game. It has 7 KP himself. It just feels like they are just playing as a 5-man unit and doing so well. And, really looking to prove that they are a team that should be worried about. They should be feared. I think with this 5-man roster, they're definitely better than their record indicates. I think, having Pine on this team, the strong jungler, the strong voice, really helps the way they want to play the game, especially with someone like Ipsy, who likes to get on the map and be involved. I feel like these two work so well together and really benefit the way this team wants to be playing this game. I think it works so well for them when they have these 5 players on the Rift, which hasn't been the case most of the season, and it's indicative in their record. But, I mean, High Alert, they can still come back in this one. It is still a Jinx. We all know the Jinx highlight moments. We literally almost saw it last game between Conduit and Omega, and Verge really going to have to look to make that one be a reality in this game.
Yeah, and Verge is definitely going to have to start putting out some pretty big rocket damage, but Once again, saving the Infinity Edge for third item, guys. It's not.
I don't like it. I don't like
This
it.
is not. This is not 5 years ago. We can't just hold our IE until third item with 20% crit. You have 25% crit back. You're allowed to just buy Infinity Edge.
Wasn't 5
It's
years
okay.
ago?
I promise you, doing damage is not illegal on Summoner's Rift. It's okay to buy damage items.
I thought 5 years ago was IE first item. I thought that was the old 80 carry wave when I was playing that role, but I have been playing
5 years ago. I don't think it was 5 years. I think that was like 6 or 7, right? Like
I was gonna say,
it was for a very long time, but I think the changes came 5 years. Maybe it was 4.
Who knows?
Look, to me, Echo is still a new champion, so the timelines are crazy. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of when IE was out, Garen's still one of the oldest champions of the game, and everybody forgot how to play against him. We saw Bear just walk up and instantly get deleted by the Garen again in this game, and like you said, people forget how to play against Garen once they get higher up in the elo, just because it's not a champion you see a lot. It's not something people gravitate towards anymore.
You want something that's gonna hurt you personally? When I saw it the other day.
Oh god.
Yumi came out 6 years ago.
That's my favorite champion in the game. That's a lie. I do like Yumi though.
But Yumi, hearing that Yumi came out 6 years ago, I'm like, no, this can't be possible.
Okay, Lilia probably
you can't do this to me.
Lilia probably came out like 4 years ago, and I feel like it was only 2.
Didn't Lilia come out before Yumi?
I have no idea, man. I'm gonna be so.
I'm sure Lilia came out like 7 years. You know what? After a certain point in League, everything just becomes timeline. Spirit of the Elder Lizard was only removed 2 months ago for me.
Oh man, what a shout out, the red and blue buff having 2 other little buddies with them. But regardless, as we walk down memory lane, we saw the Baron was started up by Conduit and pulled off, knowing that they don't want to have a coin flip and Baron take there. They were getting kind of low on it. It could have been a turn for the side of High Alert with the comp that they have, not wanting to risk that one, not wanting to give over a bunch of shutdowns and momentum to High Alert. So they are just going to pull off of that one and look to, get the vision back on, look to make plays on the map as a unit, and then potentially snowball into this Baron.
Yeah. We'll have to see what ends up happening. It does look like Conduit should just be able to pick up whatever they want at this point. It is Soul in a minute 30. So we'll see if they try and maybe bait around the Baron to try and get a good fight that'll lead into the Baron and the Soul, or if they're just going to not do anything, try and chill until that Soul comes up and then play just for the Hex Soul. Going to be massive if they get it. The AoE flag slow on the flag that you're able to drop from range, right? Being able to use that from Glada. The Foxfires as well. Just a lot of ways to do this. And Ryu, they were all on the ward. Like, he saw them and then just decided to walk in anyway. Being forced to use the Heart Piercer this early on leaves a massive opening for Conduit. As High Alert's big resets, that's one of their big reset champions, it's that and the Jinx, and losing one of those big tools for the resets is going to be massive. Now a hook from Ipsy onto Bear, who's going to try and dodge it out. Not quite hit by the box. Glada has to be careful though, as Bear's doing a lot, putting him in the all-out. Knockup comes through, and Darson, a little bit dangerous. Now the rocket comes through from Verja. Already 2 kills picked up, and we were talking about the hype moments. This could be 1. But Verja flashing forward, getting hit by the Encore. But they're not focusing Verja? We're diving onto full metal for some reason. Not quite going to be able to finish it off. We are going to pick up the 1, but it's not going to be enough as Verja's still alive, and a High Alert are going to be able to turn around that fight with a triple kill for Ryu.
Oh, no.
Panai just ran past Verja and just left him.
Also, Glada flashed forward and hit the Encore onto Verja, but all of his abilities were on cooldown, so there's no follow-up damage. He might have been able to get that. But
I thought Panai was going to be the follow-up to, like, they had it, and then Panai just like, oh, nice, nice Encore. I'm going to go for full metal. Like,
all right.
Oh, we'll see. Oh, no.
Is this the Thresh Baron steal of legend? Is it? No, he's just
unsealed. The unsealed spellbook through the portal Thresh steal.
Yeah, but what a turn by High Alert, honestly. Like, Derizen had a flank, he got caught out, he got chunked by Ryu, had to pop the Spear Rush early, and then when he tried to go in, Full Metal hit a big shockwave onto him, so really chunked him out, and he tried to get away, he tried to flash away, Bear was there, but then the Super Mega Death Rocket, able to finish him off, and that was really what turned the momentum for High Alert. They were able to get the reset onto Verja. CZI was in the backline creating space, but ends up going down to Verja because of that one reset off of Derizen, and it just snowballed into a play. But now we're gonna look for this fight. It's Hex Tech Soul for the side of Conduit. Risen in the pit could be in a little bit of trouble here if he gets spotted out by Ryu.
Yep. And Conduit already moving forward, trying to get the positioning off, but it is still high alert. Gerson over the wall, going to be able to land the charm, and CZA with a beautiful flank on the Garen, going to be able to finish off Full Metal with the execute. Now the Heart Piercer comes through, but they're not quite going to be able to take it out. Bear, the next to fall, followed shortly thereafter by Verja. It's already 4 kills. The last one alive is Ryu, and without any resets, it's going to be a triple for CZI and a clean ace for Conduit. We're going to, with no Baron, but they still have that Hexel. Definitely going to march it down mid. Probably going to get an inhibitor. I don't think they can end the game quite yet. I don't think they're in that state. But still, a lot that they could do here. A lot of damage they could do to this base.
Yeah, they really can just start breaking this base wide open. Really well played by them. The Risen getting a beautiful flank with CZI on the opposite side. They had no vision of either of them, so they were just both able to chunk out Full Metal and shut him down early, while the unit of 3 of Conduit created so much chaos on the front side with getting onto Bear and chunking him so low. It was really well played by them. And, I mean, they're not going to get too much off of it. They're just going to get the mid lane inhib, break both those turrets, steal away some jungle camps here, but the bigger reward is that Hex Tech Soul for this comp that they have. It goes so well with what they're trying to do in these fights, especially with Glada hitting all these abilities and Derizen getting all this poke before fights and damage down. It's going to be really helpful for them in these team fights and, you know, these flanks and poke that they're trying to look for. Now that they're up 6k up at 31 minutes, they're going to be looking to wait for this Baron to come on the Rift in about 3.5 minutes. But otherwise, I wouldn't be surprised to see Conduit go for these side lane plays that they've been doing all game and using the pressure that way to pull high alert away from the Baron and try to break the base that way even before the Baron is up.
Yeah, that'd be a good play that they could use. They could also wait until the Baron's up and try and use that as bait rather than actually trying to use it to end the game, right? There's lots of different things that you could do. There's lots of ways for them to sort of maneuver this end game. So it just really depends on how comfortable they feel, you know, going for it now, or if they want to maybe wait it out, play the game a little bit slower. Obviously, having that Hexel is really strong. So what I could see, you know, is just trying to get a nice flank from CZI or Pinai and going for that big Hexlo and then trying to use that to engage. Bear, though.
No, Bear.
Oh, not like this. Misses the W, and the entire team is down here. Conduit just gonna run up on Bear. Oh. Use the all out, though, and might be able to get out. We'll have to see. Pinai going forward. The Hexel slows are just so devastating, though. But now they realize that their mid lane's getting taken care of. They're just gonna keep chasing down Bear as Bear keeps moving. Gonna keep him on the runaround as their base is being destroyed. And it's Verja picking up 1 objective bounty, 2 objective bounties. Now finally turning back to try and regroup with the team. Has to be careful. Full Metal caught in the cage as well. Bear had no all out to bring them out. And it's going to be 2 kills picked up for Conduit. Now Verja's here trying to fire back, trying to potentially get the resets off. But Verja is doing nothing to Pinai as another kill goes down onto Ryu. It is just the bot lane of high alert left. And that's all she wrote as another clean 8 comes through for Conduit. Meanwhile, Derson in that bot lane has just been doing whatever he wants. He's been end of the game. And now it's CZI and Derson on the Nexus Towers. Conduit 29-9, picking up game 1. Looking like a repeat of last series right now.
Yeah, that was dominant to say the least. It felt like, you know, besides that one bad team fight where Verja got those resets and so did Ryu, but didn't matter. The side of Conduit played that extremely well from minute number 1. It felt like they were just on the map at every moment in that game. They were everywhere they needed to be, picking off side laners, picking off everybody, and just really carrying the momentum for the mid game with that comp that they drafted. And 6 grubs really did help them a lot in that one. And I don't even think it mattered that they had 6 grubs. I think they were doing exactly what their comp had to do and played it out perfectly. Looking here, CZI, the highest damage in the game. It does help when you're beating up on a Cassante all game. But regardless of that, Glada, the amount of damage he was pumping out on Seraphine was insane this game.
Yeah, all things considered, like everyone on this team played well, but it just feels like Conduit as a unit were more cohesive. They knew what they were doing, and it feels like High Alert just felt scattered. Like they weren't really together. They weren't really communicating like where the plays had to happen, or if they were, that, you know, people just weren't on the same page, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, it felt rough, especially after the level 1 when Full Metal had to burn his flash. It kind of felt like High Alert panicked after that and didn't really get much done anywhere else on the map. It felt like even though Full Metal played it out with no flash in the early parts of the game very well, it kind of felt like a mental snowball effect that just continued. But like, I mean, for this game number 1, I think my MVP of this game, I think is actually going to be Ipsy on this Thresh. I feel like he was everywhere on the map, basically having a mad life game for himself, hitting almost every hook that he was throwing out. It felt like he did everything right in this game. There's like, you could shout out anybody on Conduit, but personally, I'm gonna have to give it to Ipsy.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think Ipsy just played that game phenomenally. Those hooks were amazing. Really being able to, the lanterns immaculate as well, always getting people out to safety. Just felt like, you know, as long as Ipsy was around, you were never able to go in because of the lanterns, and if you stepped too far forward, you were going to get hooked. It just felt like this sort of menacing threat, even when he was just standing there, just had all of this potential, right? It feels like Ipsy with cooldowns up was just 10 times scarier than Ipsy with cooldowns, you know, used. It just felt like at any moment he could just make a game-winning play. And that's exactly what he did. Just so many good hooks, so many good fights off the back of the Thresh. And we'll have to see. Unfortunately, you know, having Fearless, or fortunately for us being able to watch it, Fearless means that High Alert will not have to deal with the Thresh once again. But given how well that played, I would not be surprised to see bans coming out, or maybe a mysterious Blitzcrank game. We'll have to see. I'd love to see me some Blitzcrank in the big 2025.
Yeah, we'll have to see what Conduit decides to do for the game number 2 draft and what High Alert tries to fix to be able to get a much needed win for themselves to kind of keep themselves alive for playoffs. But with that, we're going to head to a short break as we get ready for game number 2 draft. We'll see y'all in a little bit. And welcome back for game number 2 here
We got
between
him!
High Alert and Conduit. We have High Alert on the blue side of this game, Conduit on the red side. It's a Vara's first pick for High Alert. It looks like we only have 2 visible bans here for the side of High Alert. Hopefully my producer can get in my ear and tell me who that third ban is that they chose to go, but we're going to see the Caitlyn picked up here for Atlanta. So I know this is a champion who's been playing a lot in solo queue, but I also know it indexes into how you have to play the game just because of how Caitlyn needs to play the game to stay relevant in it. So I know Ipsy has also been playing Zyra a lot, so maybe that's going to be the pairing that they choose to go for. But I expect them to prioritize a jungle pick here for Pine. Maybe he will go for the likes of a Zac or something like that. But I just gotten worried that Misfortune is the third ban here for the side of High Alert.
Yeah, and I'd like to see the Varus. I love to see the Varus. It's such a good champion right now that I think, people at the lower ranks aren't playing as much, and it's seeing a lot of pro play presence. You can see just how strong it is, and a lot of it is just how Varus doesn't really lose lanes. Really, he's really good at nullifying them. Has a lot of strong lanes. Can play, poke. Can play the carry plan. So a lot of different things that can be done with this champion, and I really like. Yes. Come on, I called it, baby. It has to happen. Give it to me. Give me the crank. Timer's ticking down. No, come on.
Okay, I do like this rel pick.
I know, but it's not funny. Did you consider the fact that Blitzcrank would have been funny?
You know what would have been funny is if they forced Ipsy to play Yuumi, because I know he hates that champion. That would have been funny.
If you're playing Yuumi Caitlyn into Varus Karma, I think your coach needs to be thrown off of a bridge.
That sounds fantastic. I would do that.
Your coach has to be genuinely brought up at the Hague. That is not allowed under any circumstance.
Yeah, I know it would have been funny for the Blitzcrank pick after he hit every hook in the last game. Maybe the hover was to get in their mind, but I do really like the rel pick. It's another one of Ipsy's really strong champions, and it also does pair really well with the Volibear. Gives them that dive and just engage potential that they are really looking for. I know it doesn't also super pair well with the Caitlyn, but Caitlyn can look for these 2v2 trades. She is really strong in those, so you can always go that more aggressive option instead of just full wave control and poke damage to just keep the opposing laners oppressed under their turret for all games. So I do like the rel pick as an overall grand scheme of what Conduit is trying to do with their draft so far.
Yeah, and no Poppy ban is interesting. I guess we're thinking that like Bear won't play it, and you already have your jungler, you already have your support locked in. So either we're intending to put it in the top lane itself, or maybe, put it in the jungler and send that Volibear top?
That is a potential. I know CCI does play the Volibear as well, so you could still have that option to go for another jungle pick here if you want to, but...
I like this. I like this. Varus Karma, big range, but having the Caitlyn and the Mel sort of answers that range just as much, so being able to lock this is really good. And we'll see if High Alert, the Poppy is still very good here. Volibear Q is a dash. It gets blocked. Rel, big engage. It's going to force Conduit into a potentially bad situation. The Aurora here I like. It doesn't have as much range as the Mel, but has big team fight potential. Has big wave clear. Can really do a lot in these sort of not as extended, but more bursty fights that you tend to see from these team comps. So I really like this, and we'll have to see what the top lane lock-in is if we're just going to go for the Poppy, if we're going to maybe try and counter that Volibear, go for, I don't know, something like a Mordekaiser or Renekton, and yeah, okay. Well,
it's the classic LPL R5 Renekton.
B5 Renekton, okay. Yeah. It's not as bad. It's not as bad,
yeah.
It's still pretty crazy, though. And quite honestly, I would not be surprised to see Conduit still lock in Poppy. You're going into the Renekton, the Aurora, and the Wukong. Both these teams have a lot of range and not a lot of ways to peel it back, so I wouldn't be surprised to see something that does that, or we're just going to go Gnar instead. Okay, I mean, look, I don't mind it. It is very good into the Renekton, and going the Volibear jungle, you're going to be able to fight this Wukong. You're going to be able to sort of play these ganks just as well, so I like this. I think, once again, both teams, I don't think either team has, again, the really clear-cut team comp super wins in draft, but I do think High Alert are looking a bit better this game than they did last game.
I think they do look better than they did last game, but I still would favor Conduit's draft here just for the comfort that everybody is on these champions. I know Drizzen has been playing the Mel a lot. I know Ipsy is a big Thresh player, Pina on the Volibear, Glad on the Kaelin. And, I recently had to play top lane against CZI in a series, and he played the Gnar against me. Did I solo kill him twice? Yes, because I was on Malphite, so it's easy. But he still took over the game, and he still was a major factor in that one. And I died 7 times, so I got my 2 kills. That's all that matters. But I do really like the Gnar in this draft that Conduit has. It does give them that other flank option, and it can beat out Renekton. It's more of a skill matchup than anything. You have to be really good at your spacing at Gnar, and I know CZI can do that. But I do like what High Alert has drafted. They have stronger side laners in this game with the Renekton and the Aurora. I know Aurora was nerfed this patch. The Q damage, I believe, was the nerf, and also the ult slow was a bigger nerf as well. So it can be really difficult in that now to do the same burst that Aurora used to have. But I do still think it is a really strong pick. I think the High Alert can be lacking a little bit in the frontline department here, just because they don't have like a pure tank. But I do think Renekton and Wukong do make up for that. They are bruisers. They do build some tankier abilities. They stack HP, so it does really help them in that way. But I think it's really going to come down to the poke damage that High Alert can get in comparison to the poke damage that Conduit can put out before any of these objectives actually do start up, and who's able to win out on those.
Yeah. But for right now, I think we're going to cut it to a short break while we wait for the spectator delay. When we come back, hopefully a very exciting match, but these teams seem very explosive when they get there. So hopefully we'll see a lot of fighting, a lot of combat, a lot of bloodshed when we come back from break. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a bit.
And welcome back, everybody, for game number 2 between High Alert and Conduit Esports. We have High Alert on the blue side, Conduit Esports on the red side. And looking over everything, I mean, I'm not surprised with a lot of the choices here. Rucha going for the more aggressive option of taking the Ignite instead of the likes of a heal or exhaust. But Glado also going for the first strike here. And looking at what Verja has chosen to do, I believe we're going to be getting the lethality Varus this game instead of the on-hit version.
That does look like the current plan. And, I like that. I think that's very good. Especially knowing last game, Conduit didn't really go for that sort of consistency in the carry, and it worked out great for them. So maybe High Alert trying to replicate that, but we'll have to see if Verja can sort of replicate what Glada was doing, or if maybe that lack of consistency, especially against the Volibear and the Gnar, is going to come back to haunt them.
Yeah, we'll have to find out, but I would like to take a moment to give a quick shout out to ProComps, our sponsor and a game changer app for the League community. This isn't just like the other tools, it's your personal draft coach, perfect for both teams and solo players. In fact, you can pair it with any other app you use. With ProComps, you'll receive real-time drafting advice with tailored champion picks and ban recommendations. It stands out with features such as the ability to generate champion pools in seconds that you can share with friends, a post-draft guide to attack the game. You can generate comps based on your preferences. Coaches and analysts can even create personalized tier lists. Think of it as having a virtual coach and a strategy toolkit all in one. The app has already over 280,000 downloads and thousands of daily users like you. ProComps is user-friendly and totally free. It's a no-brainer to at least give it a go. Download ProComps now and you'll experience a whole new level of drafting power in your League games. Go to procomps.gg, download it from Overwolf, or click the link in our bio. Once again, that is procomps.gg, our sponsor for Blue Otter Premier League. And then now just looking at the game as a whole, just looks like a little bit of poking. Glada and Ipsy losing out in the lane just because it is double range. Karma is a really oppressive laner, thanks to that Mantra Q being able to do so much early damage. And of course, they're going to lose the early levels here until they can look for an engage or maybe get some jungler help getting PNA down here. But Verja and Reach are doing a good job so far, and Glada doing a good job of not dropping down too much CS right now. And it looks like When It Rains is maybe having some technical issues right now.
We're good. We're good. The mic was a little bit muted, but it's okay now. But yeah, like you were saying, the Varus just super impressive down here because you can land the E, get the slow and the comment, and then Karma can just follow up with that Mantra Q. Super easy to hit when they're already slowed, and just does so much damage. And it's really hard for Glada to actually fight back, obviously, because, Ipsy tries to go forward. If they miss that engage, if they miss that W, Ruja can just land the root, and suddenly, you're at giant kill threat. There's really not a lot you can do to fight back. So I'm not surprised to see the lane going this way early on.
Yeah,
lots of hit creating coming out in the mid lane. Just generally around the map, bot lane winning, mid lane even, top lane relatively even. I would hope that CZI starts to pull away with a bit of a lead sooner, though, because, the Renekton shouldn't be allowed to just have this full prio like is happening right now.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. If Yipsy looks for these engages, when he does use that crash down, I always like to use the comm of his pants are down, because you're so slow once you do that crash down, and it's really easy to turn from the bot lane of high alert. But like you said, it feels like, I mean, I'm fine with CZI giving up this prio right now, just because he is such a smart laner. He knows his windows to be able to push the advantage, and you can see that, like, he's willing to drop that early CS, because now he's going to be up CS. He's going to crash another. He's probably going to push this wave out now that Bear has taken this recall. And I really do like how CZI is playing out this early lane, just because Renekton has the better stats in the early game. If he does get on top of CZI from a misstep, it's going to be a real hassle for him in this lane. So I'm fine with him conceding the early pressure, knowing that he is kind of more the scaler in this matchup and willing to play it out that way. But I mean, also looking at the bottom lane, I don't really like that Glada did go for the first strike in this game, just because of how much poke does come out from the high alert bottom lane. I would have much more been happy seeing, I'm not a big fan of it, but lethal tempo, or I'm more of a preacher of fleet footwork on Caitlyn. I think that is a lot better, especially in this lane specifically.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Oh, beautiful snipe there from Verja. Gonna be able to take first blood, and Glada, yeah, like you're saying, that sustain just helps so much, but Glada's not gonna be able to get that first strike. Verja's gonna be able to get the first strike, though, for the first kill. Picking up first blood there, absolutely massive. They're gonna be able to just terrorize bot lane with that serrated Dirk tier back. One of the best you can get. You love when you're able to get that full lethality and the tier in your first back. Super massive. Now a gank up in the top side. Panai going forward. They're gonna just use the Dominus and Flash and try and get out of there. And CZI without the ultimate, without the big Gnar Rage, and without Panai having the Stormbringer, there's really no way to continue after that. You don't want to, try and dive a full Rage Dominus Renekton when you're up a level, so not gonna do that. Nipsey just roaming up to make sure that those grubs get secured.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're kind of happy with the top lane gank as Conduit, because now that CGI is level 6, he does have that kill threat now that he does have the flash advantage, and there's no Dominus or flash on Bear. But the biggest thing with the Yipsy roaming up here is they made sure they got that bot wave pushed out first, so Glada can just sit under turret and not be under any kill threat. But we're seeing it similar to game number 1, is the exchange of these neutral objectives, the grubs going over to Conduit as High Alert takes the first dragon of the game. But I think it's much better for Conduit this game that they got the dragon, because they have Caitlyn, they have Mel, they have the Gnar. Their siege pressure is so much better this game than it was last game when they got 6 grubs. So I really like that they chose to prioritize that. And we're seeing again PNA invading topside here. This is the second time taking the wolf camp here away from Ryu, and they could look to just run top here and gank Bear. He has it warded, but he has no flash, so it's going to be really difficult for him to play it out as they play out a good, not getting dove down here in the bot lane by Conduit, but they're looking to set it up again. The Risen doesn't have TP, so they could be in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It doesn't look like they're going to go for the dive just yet, but I think Conduit are just going to be content clearing this wave and giving up some of that farm. But we'll have to say, though, Full Metal down here, they're clearing out the wave too. They clearly want to try for it, but clearing out the wave is going to keep them safe.
Yeah, and I mean, nothing came out on the top lane play. We saw Pina go up there, but Bear was able to play it out. But now he's just counter jungling this whole bot side away from high alert jungler Ryu. And he's going to ping onto the wolves here and go to counter those. But it could be responded by a collapse here onto Bear. He's going in looking for that Volibear, but it's going to be rough here for the side of just Ryu in general, the way he's being out-tempoed in this jungle right now, and Bear's in trouble getting beat.
I was about to say, I don't think Bear wins that, because CZI can come down, but Durston can also roam over, and Volibear should have enough sustain, so Bear has to be kind of careful here.
Yeah, and it's...
Oh, they're going to go for it.
Dive.
Oh, and a nice root there from Verja. Gonna guarantee the kill, but it's going to be Rooch's W that ends up picking it up. We'll have to see if they try and go for the redive on Ipsy, who's at half HP, but does have the ultimate now. Should be able to get the remount if they want it, so don't want to risk that one. A single W pull into ultimate could get one kill, and then the tower's ramping up. Those towers just do so much damage, so don't want to risk it too much. Full Metal, nice root from Durson onto Full Metal. Good trades coming out there. Beautiful Q from the Invis. And Durson's just been doing a really good job of sort of keeping this mid lane poked out, keeping this CS advantage, you know, really abusing Mel's range in this mid lane matchup.
Yeah, but look at, like, despite High Alert having 2 kills, look at the gold advantage just built up by CS from these Conduit laners. You have CZI up 30 CS, almost 40 CS right now. You have Pine up 20 CS and Derizen up almost 30 CS as well. These Conduit laners, besides Gladys, who's in a tough matchup, are dominating their counterparts right now in this game.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, oh man, you know, our bot lane's up, we're doing so well, we're, you know, get the objectives and the dragons, and then you realize that your solo laners are, you know, taking a lot of punishment trying to CS. Luckily, haven't taken, you know, all the kills, you know, they haven't lost a lot. And this is what I was saying about CZI, right? Going towards these later levels of the sort of the early laning phase, the sort of 7 to 9 to 10 before an item, before everything, is really when that Gnar's going to be able to bully and shine, right? Bear's not going to be able to get those spikes. You can't really all in, and the Gnar's just going to be able to super abuse this grass poke, which has to be careful, though. Going in, the flash forward pulls Verja, gets hit by the Sky Splitter. The damage comes through. Glad picking up one. Verja has to be careful, but the Sky Splitter, sorry, the Stormbringer onto the turret, going to be able to pick up another Kai, and that is 2 kills going back over to Conduit. The kill score evened up, and Conduit, who were looking bad for a while, get a beautiful shutdown, get a lot of damage, and a bunch of plates. Feeling really good about that one. Oop, now the grub fight. Maybe going for something. A flash forward from Ryu onto the top side. Now CZI has to be careful, but he is caught so deep. And it's going to be the Feat of Warfare picked up for High Alert as Bear picks up another kill. A nice root there from Durson, but the AoE shields, the Mantra shields, looking for some extra kills there. Nice kills. I like that. That was a pretty good fight for Conduit, all things considered. You know, High Alert did lose it, but I still think Conduit's coming out ahead. You know, they have the gold lead. They may have lost the Feat of Warfare, but they still have a chance to get those objectives. They're only down 1 objective. Towers are still a very realistic opportunity, so honestly, I think that Conduit still have a very good shot here.
Yeah, and I think it felt so bad because CZI tried to flash over the wall, but fail flashed and ended up going down there. But one thing I did want to talk about real briefly is that PNA is going for this Cosmic Drive build. So I don't know if people have been paying attention to what's been going on in Europe with Los Ratones, but Baus has been playing this a lot whenever he gets Volibear. I think it's such a good item to put on the Volibear because it kind of gives you every stat you need on this champion. It gives you AP, it gives you CDR, and it gives you movement speed. So I think it pairs really well with what Volibear likes to do, and it gets you online faster than that scaling Roa build that we have typically seen out of the Volibears, where they go like Roa into Flicker Blade. I think if you go Cosmic Drive into Flicker Blade, it works exactly the same, and it gives you a power spike earlier than the Roa build does. So I really do like this adaptation out of Pine, but Yip's in a little bit of trouble here right now. Gonna use the crash down out onto the dragon and basically leash it for his team here.
Yeah, and making sure the Conduit can get this. This is going to be a massive deal if they can. It's going to even up the score. It's going to make sure that they can grab this objective, and it puts them on that point for the objective feat, right? The feat of monster slaying. That is really important. Right now, both teams evened up, and it's really going to come down to, I think, that first tower, which, you know, both teams in the bot lane have sort of been poking out using these ranged advantages to try and, you know, make themselves known, make sure that they can grab these towers. And I'd imagine that if it doesn't get taken before that, that the Herald should probably open up that tower. See, Rucha engaged upon here. Panai there as well. So much damage coming down, and Rucha's going to be forced to flash out and use the Mantra Shield. However, the second Cyclone comes through. It's going to be the Stormbringer that goes in, but Virtue's going to slay Panai before he can pick up Rucha. Now, oh, the Flash Q going to be able to take him out. Nice root there, and the Ace in the hole going to be able to get enough damage for Dursion to be able to pick up the Execute as he picks up one more. Now, Full Metal caught Yipsy in the cage, but see if he can do anything else. You can see, has to be careful, knows that Durson and Gled just have a ton of damage if they go a little bit too far forward, but Conduit pulling this game back.
Yeah, and Derision really showing his mastery on the Spell Champion. Picks up a triple kill here for himself in that bot lane, and yeah, Full Metal picked up one on the backside, but you're so happy if you're a Conduit because they already had a gold lead just from the CS advantages that they still have and created for themselves. They're up now 2k off of that triple kill for Derision, and it was played out really well. I thought Pina was going to get the kill on Rucha, but just goes down before he's able to pick that one up. But because Derision roamed up there, was able to help out his jungler and pick up the rest of the work for him. And now this spell is online, something that can be really scary in these team fights, especially with somebody who has put in time on this champion and learning it. It's going to be really a really tough matchup once these objectives start to be fought over with Derision if he's able to land down all this poke with the help from Glada on this Caitlyn, who did get a good amount of damage down there in the bot lane. And despite being the focus for most of this game, he's only down like 14 CS right now, 15 CS. So feeling pretty good in this matchup right now, despite how the early laning had gone, considering it's the same level as Verja right now, who did pick up those first 2 early kills.
Yeah. And right now we just see the teams posturing around. You can see it is Panai trying to grab this Herald, already positioning around it. The bot laners are sort of duking it out. And it looks like High Alert wants to rotate down, take out Glada, and we'll see if they're going to be able to grab him. And if they are able to get this off, maybe get this dive. Glada has to be careful. That would probably be the turret if they could. We'll see the Cyclone already coming out. Damage coming through. Has to dodge out on it. Rucha with the ultimate. And oh, Glada's flashing through, but just another E, and it's going to be Verja picking up the kill. Now going to be able to crash that wave down into the bot lane tower. And hopefully going to be able to pick up that feat. Panai picking up a kill in the mid lane onto Full Metal, though. I assume from just Stormbringering the tower. But it will be the feats picked up for High Alert. Nice play there in the bot side. I like that rotation, knowing that you still had a little bit of wiggle room before that Herald spawn, before that mid lane could go down. They are able to capitalize, and even if you're not able to contest this Herald, that you're still able to get that beats anyway, and get that prio in the bot side from the tower, and now move your bot lane into the mid lane to sort of help have them assist in the rest of the game because of how strong this Baron is and how strong this Varus is spiking right now.
Yeah, and I mean, they got some good damage on the mid lane after they were able to pick up Full Metal there, but not able to pick up a turret. No turrets have gone down for the side of Conduit yet, but I mean, they got the shutdown and it went on to Pine, which is kind of not, it's kind of where you do want it to be. It would have been better on Derision, but if you can get this Volibear strong, he's going to be able to delete Verja, Full Metal, or Rucha when he dives onto the backline in one of these team fights. So you're kind of happy with how that went, and I mean, these towers are all so low here for the side of High Alert that they might not even need the Rift Herald to break it. They might just use it for the tempo once this dragon does spawn. But I think if Conduit plays it out smart, they can hold onto that one to get a charge onto a tier 2 turret, which would be way more beneficial for them to help crack open this map even further. But I mean, High Alert did get that good dive onto Glada. He tried to play it out the best he could. It's rough when he did face check into Ryu up there in the top lane. But now CCI is going to look for the solo kill onto Bear. That was close.
Yeah, it was pretty close, but wasn't quite able to get it. Another collapse. Glada, look out. The slow comes through. Rucha, you can see, wants it so bad, but doesn't want to go overextending there. Just going to try and get more poke down. Although this Herald could be dangerous in the bot side, definitely going to be able to take out this tier 1. Might even be able to take out a tier 2, however. All of High Alert is on the rotation. Going to see if they can catch this out and turn it into a big team fight. Ryu looking for it, but they know Glad is already down. And the TP coming through from CZI. Full Metal has to be careful, has to try and back out. Pnai has to be careful walking through. Just going to use the between worlds to try and get out. However, a massive engage coming through, the ace in the hole, and it's going to be Darrison picking up the first kill. Bear now trapped in the rest of it. CZI has to back out, but it is going to be Ryu picking it up. 2 for 1 so far. Double kill from Darrison. Now Pnai going in, but he might have stepped a little bit too far forward. Beautiful root from Darrison, who's just been playing this entire fight so well, though. Gonna stop the remainder of those kills. Meanwhile, Glada just decided to walk back mid and take the tower.
Yeah, well, once again, Conduit wins out on a 4v5, and they're going to probably get the Drake here for themselves. A really good engage by Yipsy and Pnai onto Full Metal in the backside of High Alert. Yes, CZI did go down in the end, but it also cost Wukong his flash in the end, so... And Drizzen able to play that out extremely well, like you did shout out, really spacing well on this Mel, and getting that execute onto Bear at the back half of that fight with that ultimate. So... Conduit playing well once again in this game. They're up 4K here, and yeah, the kills are close, but they pick up another turret here for themselves. That's all 3 outer turrets. They're up 2 dragons to 1, and it's just, once again, it's that CS game that's really paying dividends for them so far in this game.
Yeah, and Conduit's just been doing so good about the rotations this time around, right? Last game, we saw about it, they seemed lost, but CZI was so ready to TP down for that fight, knew exactly what his team was doing, and Darrison just been doing so well on this Mel, has just been such a major threat. If you're not getting this Mel early on in the fight, Darrison has just been pumping out so much damage, can be able to get those executes, and that Mel, you're looking at it, being able to land all this damage, Glada, all he has to do is, sit in the back, land the aces in the hole, and just sort of be the utility carry right now. You're not that strong on this Caitlyn, until you get the more items. You don't even have the IE, it looks like, until 3rd item. We're going for the Last Whisper in the Noon Quiver, so I feel like it's really the Darrison, so, and Glada is more of the cover fire.
What is he building right now with what's in his inventory? I can't even think. It looks like he's in the middle of building 2 different items instead of going for that IE rush. So definitely an interesting choice here out of Glada. But, I mean, he's really just there for the damage that he gets from those Peacemakers or from that ace in the hole. So really looking for that in team fights. We saw him try to get that ace in the hole down onto, I believe it was Bear, but the execute came out from Drizzen before that, so not able to pick that one up for himself. But now they're posturing around this Adacon, looking for the vision game, and also just defending Drizzen from what could be coming, as we see 3 of the members of High Alert are down here. Yeah, okay, so that does build into Last Whisper. I was like, I don't even know what those 2 items together build into.
No, it builds into Last Whisper now. It's clearly the armor piercing item, but still, not going for that IE, I think, is a questionable decision.
Bear is waiting to jump onto Drizzen here. He has no idea.
Going for it. Gonna be able to land the stun. Gonna force the flash out of Drizzen, which is really good. That is a massive cooldown for the Mel that you really don't want to be losing. And you can see CZI and Full Metal just chilling up in this top side. And you can see Glada already set up the full trap line, just to completely bar off Conduit from joining up. And Ruja has to be careful, because at any point if Ruja gets jumped on, the rest of High Alert has to walk through all of these traps to get around it.
Yeah, Bear took a big chunk from that headshot from Glada, did about a quarter of his HP there. But they are able to clear that trap line, but the bigger thing is the Conduit still holds prior in this area to clear the vision and reset the traps if they want to, or even start up this Otacon. But in the top side, I don't think Full Metal is varying too well up there. We can see he's like under turret on the minimap, while CZI is just pushing in this wave. So he's doing his job, waiting for his TP to come back up, which it is. Both these side laners right now have TP, but CZI is quietly having a really good game for himself with just in the CS department alone. He's on pace with the Risen right now. The solo laners for Conduit really doing a good job of keeping those CS numbers up, but the Risen even being more influential in these team fights. But we saw that High Alert does have the potential to win these team fights. They do have the burst damage and the kill threat onto people. So if they can get what they're looking for in these team fights, it can be hard for Conduit to play it out. But Yipsy could be in trouble, but able to just walk it out thanks to Pine and Drizzen being in the area.
Yep. Oop, we'll have to see. Maybe catching it. Nope. Ipsy almost landing the Q there. That stun could have been pretty big. You could see Drizzen over the wall just doing so much. And the pressure that this Mel provides combined with the Caitlyn you just have so much damage that you have to be careful to, that it really feels like a vision war because of the range of both of these teams. Now, Ipsy walking in a little bit, though, but it is going to be Rucha caught out. Bear trying to land the stun, but he's just so fast. The ace in the hole comes through, and it's going to land. Rucha goes down as Derizen lands the root, and Bear is the last one standing. Tries to go over the wall. Ooh, it's going to be the execute, though. Now has to back out. Ryu trying to get under tower, but you can just see how much damage the rest of these teams do. Ipsy going for it. Not quite going to be able to land the Between Worlds, but will be able to land the Q thanks to the ultimate from Verja. But only the carries left alive, and you can see CZA is just banging on the door the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, CZI, once again, Conduit just winning out in these 4v5 team fights every single time, it feels like. And I mean, it's really good it's a real good showing that they're able to do this, because CZI is just getting so much pressure in these side lanes and just actually creating so much momentum for himself. It feels like, once again, Conduit just having the better macro sense and also the better hands to perform in these odd number fights every single time. Even last game, the numbers were in their favor, but when they did take odd numbered fights, it worked out perfectly for them, and they're doing it again in this game. I mean, the Risen still hasn't gone down here, and Glada, he does do a decent amount of damage with the rest of the comp built around him when they are getting this poke out. But I mean, overall, Conduit is happy. They pick up their Soul Point Dragon, they pick up the top side tier 2 turret solo for CZI, and it's gonna still be rough for High Alert to be able to come back in this one. They're almost down 10,000 gold at this point. They're only down 6k, but it's starting to look a little bit rough here for High Alert in the second game, as Conduit is showing up in another pretty dominant game here in game number 2.
Yep. Nice little root there on Ipsy. He's just going to back himself out with Crash Down. But now the Baron is up. Conduit, the drag's not up for 4 minutes, you know, and now that the Baron's up, they do have a lot of damage. There is very real potential for them to try and look for this because they're on Soul Point. But you also might see, you know, what we've seen in these past couple games, which is them not wanting to risk the Baron and just playing for the Soul, knowing that they're stronger, not wanting to try and flip that big objective and give High Alert away back in.
Yeah, I think that's a valid thing to do, not really wanting to give that opportunity to your opponent. Oh my gosh, that was a great buffer by CZI. Reacher died? Yeah, Reacher's dead.
Oh, okay. Once again, another Reach kill. Cool. Reach has just been getting caught out so much this game. And, you know, it's one of those things where we were looking at it, but it's like, you kind of hope that at some point you would learn, right? Like, okay, maybe I can't just walk up for poke against people that are going to annihilate me and my entire health bar because I'm not tanky, right? You have the Caitlyn, you have the Mel. You know, even without some CC, you still take a lot of damage just for walking up. So I feel like maybe, you know, don't walk without your team at this point if you're the Karma.
Yeah, in the meantime, the Otacon was taken by Conduit, I believe. I believe it was just soloed by, or duoed by Peanut and Glada there to pick that one up, picking up with the blood petals along that. A little bit of gold, a little bit of hope there for High Alert, picking up that topside tier 1 turret, getting that global bounty for the team was full metal. But I mean, Conduit playing the map really well. Once again, CZI gets another outer turret in the bot lane after he almost solo killed Bear down there. We saw Bear was super low, having to take that recall. But Conduit, they're looking strong in this game and really making a case for themselves why they should be a playoff team and maybe not look down upon as some of these teams are. Maybe a reason to be worried about if you do end up facing them in the playoffs. Playing well, everybody's doing their job in this game, and it's going really well for them.
Yeah, and right now Conduit, it looks like they're just chilling, you know, waiting on that soul, using the side lane pressure, just getting the picks where they can. And honestly, getting this mountain soul here would be massive. Already, they're so hard to kill, and getting all of those extra resistances just makes it so hard for High Alert to try and turn this around. However, this might be the start. Full Metal trying to land the damage, but it's CZI that ends up picking up the kill. Unfortunately, they're starting the wrong target, but he's still trying to fight it back. Ryu gonna be able to pick up that shutdown there, and that is a big kill onto the Wukong. Unfortunately, seeing 2 down there, and CZI being able to take out 1, gives the green light for Conduit to just rip this Baron.
Yeah, and the bigger thing was the jungler who is down there, so that's going to be Baron over here for Conduit. They're going to look for the turn. Is High Alert.
Maybe. Oh, the 1 HP. I know you saw it. That could have been a crazy turn, but it wasn't. Fortunately, they're going to go in, though. Huge Stormbringer. However, Ryu is now on top of Garrison. Yipsy has to back him off, has to try and save him. Double kill, though, in the back line. It
Oh my
will be
God.
a shutdown for Ryu. Darcy, picks up the kill. And, so far, I mean, Conduit still came out ahead, but big shutdowns from Ryu. Ryu picked up a ton of gold off those multiple shutdowns, and being able to grab that, I feel like, you know, now Ryu is a very legitimate dive threat, so I think that Conduit's going to have to be pretty careful going into the soul point fight. Or the
Yeah,
soul
and I mean,
fight.
yeah, it was Ryu barely got that kill onto Drizzen before he went down himself, was able to get that the Q off and get that bonus damage from it. Drizzen, that's his first death of the game though, so really good to finally get him to go down. But I mean, Ipsy again on in this game, similar to last game, having really great engages and just getting the combos down when he needs to. But now this is going to be the Mountain Soul coming onto the Rift here. The Cryo is right now, I would say, Conduit favored to get it just because they can put either Pine or Glada in one of these lanes and Baron buff those minions. But Highlight's going to have to fight it. We saw that they can get the fight in their favor. We saw it literally just at the Baron. They got the damage down onto the key members. They got it onto Drizzen. They got it onto Glada. They were able to get that one for themselves. Smite steal away is the Scuttle Crab. Ryu having those mechanics still.
Yep, love to see it. Conduit positioning around. You could see Ryu on the side, knowing just how strong he is at this point, really positioning to try and get in that backline. Meanwhile, topside, CZA and Bear in the 1v1, and it's going to be Bear coming out on top initially, but CZA is going to return the kill, so both top laners dying in that 1v1, meaning this fight is a pure 4v4 if they decide to start it up. You can see Darrison starting up that dragon right now.
Yeah, they don't know that Ryu is still on a flank looking for it for his team with Full Metal still having that between worlds. They're looking to set it up. Dragon not reset yet as Ryu grabs the aggro from it. So they're looking to just give this
Are
one
they
over.
giving it up?
It looks
No
like
way. Are Conduit giving this one up?
Yeah, it's gone.
That is certainly a choice. Oh, but they might be able to get a big pick here. Ooh. Taking Verja's Edge of Night, the execute coming through, and it's the ace in the hole going to be able to finish off Verja. And without their big carry, that could be very dangerous. CZI has the TP. Big poke coming out from Darrison. Both ults down, though, for the carries. You can see Kanai going in. Wants to just take out this inhibitor. Not quite looking at the game right now just yet, but CZI did TP into the bot side. They're going to try and grab something here. Bear has to be very careful about dashing in.
Yeah, they're going to push in the top and the bot lane here now is Conduit. I mean, this is your angle to look for the engage if you're looking for it. Bear's looking to go in, and so is Ryu. That Mantra E is now down for Rucha, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to get in here. But now CZI, we see him rotating over here in the steep.
Push up in 10. They have to make it happen now if they want to. Kanai going for the backline, the jump in, the pull back, but Full Metal hits a nice between worlds. The engage, though, comes out, and Full Metal's still safe. Damage coming through. It's going to be Kanai taken out first with a shutdown, but taken there shortly after. Full Metal has to be careful, trying to get the damage down on the Glada, but not quite. Now a second kill for Glada as he takes out Bear. Just 3 left, and Verja missing the ultimate could be the nail in the coffin. Not having that big tool is going to be massive. CZI jumping in, trying to get the slows, trying to take out Rucha. Just a couple more autos will do it, but he's not quite able to get it here. Has to be careful about going into that form. Needs the rage to fill out so he can grab that Gnar back. We'll have to see, though. Going in now, looking for the engage. Gonna be able to stun up Full Metal as the ultimate comes through. Rucha being so low, and Full Metal is the last one alive. Trying to dodge it out, trying to get Glada, trying to play Ring Around the Rosie, but you can see CZI just beating his chest, dancing on him. Will manage to land the shutdown on Teresian, but that's all it's going to be as Conduit take this series 2-0 from High Alert.
Yeah, and a much-needed win from themselves. Kind of almost eliminates High Alert from playoff potential. They need everything to go right for them to be able to sneak into that 6th seed, but really helping Conduit here is that win. They're now 3-3, tied with Dorado. I'm not sure how the point breakdown is for their standings, but I mean, once again, Conduit played phenomenal this game. I mean, it felt like there were moments in that game where High Alert could have come back. We saw the team fight potential that comp did have. But I mean, Conduit, once again, Ipsy and Pine were literally everywhere on this map again, making all the plays happen. But I think the silent hero of this team was actually Derizen on this Mel, pumping out not as much damage as CZI, but it's still an insane amount of damage. And it really started with that early triple kill that he got for himself down there in that bot lane roam that he did.
Yeah, and this whole game, you know, don't get me wrong, Duristian, great plays. Everyone played so well. Ipsy has just been on a tear. Was just doing so much in both these games, facilitating the fights. You know, this game wasn't as flashy, but still was there everywhere that they needed to be when they needed to be there. Really felt like they were just sort of this unstoppable force on the RAL.
Yeah, like I have to agree. He literally was everywhere he needed to be. I mean, I think Ipsy is the MVP of this game and probably the match as a whole. Again, despite Derizen having the flashy scoreline, I feel like Ipsy was the X factor in this game again. I think he died twice the entire series. I think he won like 1-1 and 22 in the first game and now 1-1 and 20 in the second game. I'm gonna have to say Ipsy is my MVP for this entire series.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Just played so well. I mean, even in the RAL, it's just all of the engages, all the backup engages, even when they weren't making the game-winning plays, it's just they were doing so much to facilitate the rest of the team that it felt, you know, impossible to play in. You know, if Ipsy's up, how do you engage? How do you play the fights out? You know, when Ipsy's there to just stop everything that you're trying to do, and it was just so hard. And in the end, Hyler wasn't able to do it. We got 2-2-0s tonight, something I was definitely not expecting going into this.
Yeah, I didn't either. I thought we were going to have a full 6-game slate on our hand, but both teams who won showed up in dominant fashions today. I think it really is a confidence boost this late in the season, considering how close we are to playoffs, and just really helps them a lot. But with that, we are going to be coming to an end here of our, you know, week 6, I believe, of Blue Otter Premier League. I've been Trunk Soma. I joined by When It Rains this week. Check out Monday for Blue Otter Draft League, same channel, same time. Well, not same time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And then next week, we'll be back for the final week of the regular season, starting on Saturday at 3:30 for that Otter Talk of BOL Premier League. It's been a great casting for y'all. Thank you to Shivan for being our producer, as always. Thank you for Rennet Reigns for stepping in here with Fars being away for his other casting opportunities. Really appreciate you stepping up here.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you to our sponsors, ProComps, and we'll see you all next time.